It's time for High School Football, presented by TISD and Cox Communications of Tyler. Brought to you by Dairy Queen and Supercuts. Also brought to you by these sponsors. Get ready, high school football is just ahead.
We are back at Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium in Tyler. The officials and the captains now at midfield. The captains for Lee, Cole Skates, Tyrone Ross, Jason Stripling, and Saron Black, who's the LSU commit. Craig Smoke is out near midfield for the coin toss.
That's heads and tails. You get the mister, you call a toss, call it in there. If I drop it, we do it again, okay? You listen to what he calls and I ask you to verify.
Tails.
What do you call?
Tails.
You got heads, you want to toss.
Defer.
You want to defer.
Robert E. Lee will defer. Port Arthur Memorial calling heads. It was tails. And, hey, Craig, just a little comment from you. Saron Black's a pretty big kid, isn't he?
Yeah, I'd have to say that's a true statement right there.
He's a monster at 6'5", 321 pounds. And, again, it's given his verbal commitment to LSU. And there's been some talking in the Port Arthur newspaper about Saron Black with a couple of guys from Port Arthur Memorial saying some things that Saron has jotted down. And this is going to be two really good football teams. When we come back, we talk about the Robert E. Lee Red Raider football team. Mike Owens in now, believe it or not, his 9th year. 7 consecutive playoff teams. He hopes it's 8, and it all starts tonight. Back in a moment.
You know what I like about Texas? We'll always find a way to stay cool. And when our work is through, we know just what to do. Every true Texan loves a DQ.
Pop into DQ for new popcorn chicken. These crispy, delicious, all-white chicken bites are perfect for dipping. Plus, get any size Coke free with a large order. And for all you chocoholics, try our newest treat, the Triple Chocolate Utopia.
DQ, that's what I like about Texas.
We are back at Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium in Tyler, and our spotter today is Kerry Ainsworth, as he has been, along with, and by the way, Kerry's son John was a all-district and honorable mention all-state cornerback at Robert E. Lee, played football at Sam Houston State. Randy Johnson back for, what is this now, 9 years?
The whole time.
How have you survived? Wow. You're the only one. Everyone else went a year at a time. I finally found somebody else that would put up with me. And Craig Smoke in his 3rd year, of course, as well, of being on the sidelines for us doing Lee football since his senior year in high school. So the umpires, the referees and officials tonight. The referee, Mitch Prater. Umpire is Charles Battie. The linesman is Gary Chalk. The line judge is Kyle Rutherford. And the back judge is Money Florence. Port Arthur Memorial will receive. So Robert E. Lee will start off on defense. The kicker, again, is Cole Skates. And Memorial will have their kick return men deep, Robert Barnes and Jarrett Williams. And you might see Robert Joseph, and that is him on the near side as well. They're wearing black pants with red trim down the sides, a thick red stripe. The white jerseys with black numbers and red trim, and the black helmets as well. They are the Titans of Memorial High School. The offensive coordinator is Kenny Harrison, who was a college football player at the University of Texas. He played for Mike Owens at Jefferson. The defensive coordinator is T.K. Harrison. He was a middle linebacker for a Mike Owens team at Port Arthur Jefferson. And there's a couple of other coaches as well that were players for Mike Owens. And Mike said it's kind of emotional of what is going on with that. So he says he gets to see him during coaching school. And the bottom line is he said, listen, they're friends of mine, but I don't want to lose to my hometown football team. And I talked to Bob West of the Port Arthur News, who's known Mike for a long time. He has great respect for what Dean Colbert's doing And here we go. Lee with their red uniforms, the white numbers, and the red helmets, and some new shoes, some white shoes with a little red kind of plastic glare to them on the toes. And the stripe. Cole Skates with the kickoff line drive, almost like a pass, and it is into the end zone where Memorial, well, it's still loose, in fact. He's got to get on that pretty hurry. That almost became a disastrous start for the Titans as Jarrett Williams let that thing get over his head, and as he went to go kneel on it, he took his eye off the ball, and he was barely able to get it. Here is what they have up front. Robert Gillespie, left tackle to right. Don Holloway, Trey Puckett to center. Justin Washington and Quentin Johnson. They 605 pounds combined at right guard and right tackle. When they go to a tight end set, they have Eugene Mingo. The receivers are Eric Reynolds, Jarrett Williams, and Jeremy McZeal. Donovan Portery, the quarterback, and Ja'Cory Cormier, the fullback, and Robert Joseph, the tailback, at least for the first couple of games until Jamal Charles is healed. Lee with their three-man defensive front. At the last second, a player comes on the field, and now the official on the far side, Gary Chalk, the head linesman, not sure if he's thrown the flag or not, as McZeal comes running out from the sideline, as they had 12 men on the field right now. Is that right? 3, 5? Oh, well, I guess not. 1st and 10. And here comes a man in motion. That's Cormier. Portery, the quarterback, takes the snap, gives it to the tailback, and he got just a couple of yards in that Lee defense, which is so quick, led by that time Cordero Mumphrey. Up front, it's Ricky Sherfield, the senior, Saron Black in the middle, along with Sam Banks, who gets the start tonight at defensive tackle. Cordero Mumphrey, the senior defensive end. Linebackers galore, and Cole Skates, Warren DeHaven in the middle, and playing with the torn meniscus in his knee, Dominique Van Zant. The safeties are Jason Stripley, Nick Mitchell, and Eric Ajiki, and the corners Micah Johnson and LaQuette Nicholson. He likes to go by just Quette. 2nd down and 8 after a gain of 2. Portery rolls to his right, wants to throw, passes incomplete. Nice coverage that time. Ajiki was over there, but Micah Johnson, who Mike Owens says is as much of a guy who gets on a wide receiver and sticks to him like glue as he's ever had, and that's saying a lot considering they just had Martell Van Zandt and Quentin Gardner.
Well, he says he is the best cover corner that he's ever coached. And he did a great job right then as Portery rolled right and had a little bit of time. He probably could have tucked the ball under and cut back inside, but right there is number 40, Ricky Sherfield, to make him force the pass.
Willie Bryant comes in, now one of the receivers, and out of the game is the tight end. A 4 wide-out set now, 2 on each side, and the center is Trey Puckett. In the game, a defensive tackle for Lee as they switch out. Banks comes out of the game. Here comes a flag down. Looks like delay of game as the play clock ran out. And now we see Memorial get off to a sloppy start. They had the kickoff that kind of got muffed up a little bit. Then they had a man come in from the sideline. And now they've had a procedure or delay of game penalty as well against the Titans. And so Lee defensively in a pretty good situation right here. I think the defensive tackle right now could be Matt Holland. Excuse me, yeah. All right, no, it's not. It's a 3rd down and 12. 3rd and 13 for Port Arthur Memorial. Back to throw, Portery, straight drop. Looks over the defense and now wants to run at the 20. And look at the speed of Ricky Sherfield from the backside defensive end. And great coverage downfield by a very young secondary. And Lee will force Memorial after a 5-yard scramble from Portery, and he can scoot it to punt the football. Their punter is also their field goal kicker, Osirel Romero, the senior.
That's just a great bit of pursuit from the backside from Sherfield as he forced Portery out of the pocket, flushing him back inside, and he caught him from behind after a 5-yard gain.
Tony Bush, the electrifying receiver, was the star of their 7-on-7 football team that won it all. Came in last year and made a lot of great plays at receiver, is back to field the punt. Here's the line drive kick. Bush will field at the 36. At the 40, looks for a seam. 45, 48-yard line. And a nice job of Tony of catching the punt, getting about 8 to 10 yards on the return after a 36-yard punt from, again, Osirel Romero. 10-yard return, by the way, from Tony Bush. Lee, let's go to the offensive line, left tackle to right. Saron Black, the 6'5", 321 senior. Sam Banks, also a returning starter. The center, Blake Larman. Brian Culp and Matt Holland, the guard and tackle to the right-hand side. Tight end, John Giles, a great receiver. Tony Bush and Walter Simpson, the wideouts. Walters had a calf injury and may not play tonight, and we see D'Angelo Jones, who splits out to the near side. Peyton Price and Tyrone Ross are the offset eye. And there's some motion initially as the right guard, no, that's tight end Jonah Murphy, who jumped off sides in the double tight end set. And the one thing that Lee has done is they have not been a team that has had many procedure calls. They've had problems with turnovers in the years we've seen, but Randy, they've rarely had problems with the penalties, maybe a holding call or two. Jason Williams also in the game at the start here for Robert E. Lee.
Well, that's just a case of the early game jitters, and you've got to have a little bit better concentration up front from your tight end Murphy.
So it's now 1st and 15 at the 43. There's a lot of movement again. Jason Williams bounces outside, pulls out maybe to the 45 or 6 yard line, about 2 or 3 yards, and a lot of extracurricular activity at the end. Peyton Price got tied up with 69. Corey Marks, their 295 senior, at a gain of about 3 yards, and Lee has had some problems with the snap from the very beginning. Here's Memorial up front. Dedrick DeJean, Jeremy Bernard, Corey Marks, and Lionel Revelta. Linebackers are Williams, Raphael Cutton, with 120 tackles last year in the middle, and Richard Alexander. The corners are Maurice Kinlaw and Robert Barnes. Justin Robertson and Isaiah Trahan are the safeties. Here's Tyrone outside, has room. At midfield, into Memorial territory at the 46-yard line. A gain of 8 yards, knocked out of bounds by Robertson with a very tough tackle, but a nice job of getting out to the outside. And anytime you see T.Y. go down, you get really nervous. You know what he overcame this summer, don't you? He walked off his front porch, and one of those things is the plastic little whirly thing that kind of keeps moles out of the front yard, and the stick. Somebody had dropped it on the ground. He stepped on it, went right through his foot. And, of course, that made news pretty quick. Tyrone that time picks up 8 yards, and it's 3rd down and 4 for Lee. Jacob Amy, the sophomore in the game, at wide receiver to the near side. Here's Tyrone. Nope, it's Peyton. 40, 30, 20. Fake me out, fake them out. Go, baby, go. Touchdown, Robert E. Lee. They ran the cross buck from the right wing. Looked like there was confusion. Hey, folks, that was me. I didn't see it. Neither did the Titans. 46-yard. What a great scheme on the play.
And misdirection fooled everybody, but a great bit of blocking up front, too, from the left side. And Banks and Black opened the hole, and also Blake Larman cracked back on cut in the middle linebacker, and scooting through an enormous hole that time was Peyton Price, joining in from 46 yards.
John Giles downfield with a block as well. And I'll tell you one thing about Peyton Price. In just a moment, here comes the extra point. Cole Skates, 87 of those in his career. Preston Hill, the backup quarterback, with a hold. The kick is up. It is good. 9:25 to go, first quarter. An explosive offensive start for Lee. 7-0 Red Raiders back in 1 minute.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there. I'm there. We're there with nearly 50 degrees and certificates and as many as 400 continuing education classes. Wherever you want to go, we can take you there because we're right here. Tyler Junior College.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there. I'm there.
To see this sign on your house, put this sign out front. Century 21 Advantage. Call or visit our website.
Back at Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium in Tyler, and you're listening to Robert E. Lee football on News Talk 600 KTBB. Tyler Longview, 7-0 Lee as they score after a procedure call. And then Tyrone Ross picks up 8 yards. They go 48, and Peyton Price, who can run, and he's gained about 12 to 15 pounds. He's tough as just gained all muscle, and he can go. They've got 3 quality running backs, Price, Ross, and Jason Williams, and look at Cole Skate. You know, his brother was they're going to bring it out from the goal line, and now they take a knee, which is a very smart play pushing and shoving, and now a flag goes down at the end of the play, and I think that might go against Port Arthur Memorial, and I'm not sure. Kyle Rutherford, the official on the near side, throws the flag after the play is over. There was some pushing and shoving, and I just don't know who got caught. Number 40 for Port Arthur Memorial, which is Ja'Cory Cormier, the fullback, and Eric Ajiki kind of got into it. It might be offsetting personal fouls. Randy, not a bad drive to start the year.
Well, 4 plays, 52 yards, and all of 56 seconds, David. And, of course, just a beautifully designed play. Misdirection, had the defensive flowing one way. A great trap block in the middle from the offensive line. And Peyton Price found the alleyway and took it on home.
Personal foul against the fullback, Cormier. Half the distance to the goal line for Porterie and his offensive team. So they're down 7-0, and all of a sudden their backs are against the wall at the 10-yard line. The other defensive tackle that we did not have is Gabriel Lacey or Bobby Osborne. We're still not able to tell. 66 is Lacey, but I think it's 68. It's 68 Bobby Osborne, the 6', 247-pound defensive tackle. Is it not, Randy?
That's correct.
No. Well,
yes, 247.
It is. I think it's actually Lacey. It's 1st and 10. Porterie from the 10. Takes the snap. Deep handoff. Not much there for the tailback. That is Robert Joseph, the junior, and Ricky Sherfield. I talked to Willie Williams, who's the defensive ends coach, and I said, who does he remind you of? I said, when I saw him on film, it looked like Harvey Walker. He said, David remembered him. And remember Tyson Boyd, the wiry kid who came in, oh my God, one of the defensive ends went down. Also kind of reminds him of him as well. No gain on the play for Joseph. He has 2 carries for 2 yards.
Well, we go back to the 98, 99, 2000 seasons for that trio of individuals. Yeah, Harvey Walker, about 5'8", 165, unblockable because of his speed and quickness to get to the quarterback and the running back.
2nd down and 10. They will split McZeal to the far side. Near side is Willie Bryant, and they have 2 men in the slot. Bryant is actually the flanker, and here comes a flag and a delay of game again against the Titans of Memorial, and this knocks them back from what was the 20 to the 10 and now back to the 5. Boy, it's hard to run an offense when you're taking the snap from the end zone, especially when the end zone is the same color as the team you're playing. It kind of can be an intimidating situation.
Well, as we saw in the first game, it's the little things that can cost the team early in the season. Mental mistakes and mental breakdowns and penalties are haunting Port Arthur Memorial right now on this drive.
So 2nd down and 15, just 3.5 minutes into this game. McZeal in motion. Porterie, the quarterback, deep pitch back. Not much there, and a loss of a couple of yards, and Jason Stripling, who I think has greatness in his future. He is a 6', 215-pound senior. He kind of plays, they play a 3-man front, Randy, so they really have 3 safeties with Ajiki, Mitchell, and Stripling, and Jason knocks the tailback down for a loss of 2.
With the back 8 for Lee, last year proved their mettle with their speed and quickness and attacking the football, and right now it looks like they're taking right off from where they left off during most of the season.
Our engineer Mike LaRue, producer Justin Brinker, Kerry Ainsworth in our booth spotting, and Randy Johnson and I in the booth, and Craig Smoke in the sidelines. 3rd and 17. Here's the deep handoff. Makes the first man miss and makes a couple of nice moves to get out to the 7-yard line. That is Joseph Cole Skates and Dominique Van Zamp, both on the stop for Robert E. Lee, and Cole kind of knifed through the hole that time. And here's a guy coming off a season where he had 110 tackles. He had 1 sack, but 16 tackles for losses, and he dominated on defense in that scrimmage against DeSoto. A gain of a couple of 3 yards for Joseph, and back to punt is Ramiro. Tony Bush will stand at the Port Arthur Memorial 45. He dropped the snap, got it off, and just kind of line drive kick. Bush at the 38, the 35, and goes down inside the 35 to the 30, and great field position for the Red Raiders as number 48 on the stop that time for Memorial. That is Richard Alexander, one of their starting linebackers. 29-yard punt, 7-yard return, and what I like already from Tony Bush is that he catches the football, doesn't let it bounce around too much. Sometimes you can't do anything about that, but you can get positive yardage. He's had 17 yards now on 2 returns. Here comes the Lee offensive line. Tight end is Jonah Murphy. Tight end far side is John Giles. Double set receiver split. Here's Josh, play action pass, and he can run. Gets a block downfield, 30, at the 20, at the 10. He will score. Here's a flag down. There's a flag down at about the 8-yard line at the feet of John Giles. And he is showing some frustration as apparently he got his arms out or something, but Lee goes on the bootleg and Josh can scoot now. And we saw them use that quite a bit with Matt Flynn a couple of years ago in that semifinal team, but this is going to go back. They will get the first down, then mark off 10 yards from about the 8-yard line. So Lee will get the ball, you would think, at about the 18 after the holding call. The yardage all the way down to the spot of the foul counts, and then they lose 10 yards on the penalty, and they'll be at 1st and 10 at the 17 of Memorial. A 23-yard pickup from the quarterback, Josh Hill.
Yeah, that was reminiscent of 2 seasons ago with Matt Flynn up against Longview when they came and visited, and Lee unveiled that play with a naked bootleg. The quarterback actually had 2 blockers downfield, one being Giles, and he followed behind the other block, which was Walter Simpson, near the line of scrimmage, and he just put on the afterburners as he scooted in the end zone, but it's brought back against Lee.
7:01 to go. John Williams splits far to the side, and it is Walter Simpson with that left calf heavily taped up. T.Y.'s in the slot. He's in motion now. They run him around the reverse. At the 15, looks for a block. At the 10, cuts it inside the 10, and has another chunk of about 12 yards and a first down. Now let's talk about this. Trahan, the safety, makes the stop along with Jared Williams. Entering this season, Derek Farmer, 3,742 yards career rushing. Keandre Smith ended with 2,699. Tyrone Ross starts the year with 2,980 yards, so he's about 800 yards away from becoming the all-time leading rusher in Lee football history, catching one of the great ones in Derek Farmer. Tyrone picks up 12, so he's already now at exactly 3,000 yards. Peyton Price will score right up the gut. Another trap block inside, and Saron Black gets up, pumping his fist. It is 13-0 Robert E. Lee.
Straight belly blast, quick, right up the middle. Peyton Price, who's going to be the fullback this year, putting on great moves already with his second score on the young evening.
Wow. Execution. Scheming the opposition. It's 13-0 Preston Hill with John Giles, the deep snapper. Cole Skates, the kicker. Snap, hold, kick, up, and he's got one heck of a cannon. 6:38 to go, first quarter. Robert E. Lee making a statement early, 14-0. Long way to go, back in a moment.
Here's a question. If you needed your insurance, who would you call? Not the name of the company, but the name of the person. You've got 2 seconds. Coming up blank, you may want to consider Allstate. You'd have a local agent you can count on. A licensed professional whose name you know, not just a number. You deserve a relationship with a real person.
For all your insurance needs, call the McIntyre Insurance Agency in the Albertson Shopping Center.
Your one-stop sports shop, Tyler Athletics. Represent your team like never before. On the field, on the court, it's all in our store. The spirit of your team, the season of your dreams. Looking for the victory, we've got what you need. Your one-stop sports shop, Tyler Athletics. Your one-stop sports shop, Tyler Athletics.
6:38 to go in the first quarter at Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium in Tyler. Cole Skates about to kick off for the 3rd time in this game, and it's not even halfway through the first quarter as Lee strikes again on big plays, Randy.
3 plays, 30 yards, 27 seconds, David, is all it took once again, and Lee's ran 7 offensive plays and has 82 total yards, just over about 1:25 thus far in the first quarter.
You hear a lot about Tyrone Ross, as you should. He hit 3,000 yards career rushing tonight. You hear a lot about Jason Williams, who's a tremendous player as well. The kickoff by Cole Skates, and that's a tremendous weapon, guys. And by the way, which is a misunderstood rule in high school football, in the NFL, if the ball goes in the end zone, if you don't down it, it's a live ball. In high school football, as soon as it crosses the white stripe of the end zone, it's a dead ball. If a guy catches it in the air and wants to run it out, he can do that, but as soon as it crosses that white stripe at the goal line, it is a dead ball. You hear a lot about Jason Williams, a junior, who might be the next great running back at Lee, but Peyton Price tonight, 2 carries, 50 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's a pretty good slugging percentage in baseball,
That's
in this case in football. That's efficiency. All right, four receiver set for Porter-Ree. Lee with a three-man front. Porter-Ree, three-step drop pass. Kant for a first down out to the 31-yard line. And they got an opening back there as Lee would look like in a zone defense. And it was Cole Skates in the stop for Lee. Jeremy McZeal, the junior, 6'2", 181, makes this catch in a gain of 12 yards.
Just a nice two-step drop for the quarterback, and his receiver did a little hitch job along the sideline, made the catch, and tracked another 34 yards for their first
down. Robert defensively against Lee. A first down for Port Arthur Memorial, their first of the game. And Porter-Ree with two receivers to the near side, one in the slot. He goes to the tailback, Joseph. Nothing there. Cordero Mumphrey was there, and the lightning quick front was there as well for the Red Raiders. I think Warren DeHaven at the bottom of that, and you talk about a tough kid. He's got torn meniscus in his knee. He's been having to play through that. 53 checks out. That is Jacoby McKenzie for Robert E. Lee. And it's 66 Gabriel Lacey, who is the defensive tackle for Lee. Sorry we've gotten the name wrong on a couple of occasions. We don't do that often, but we're sorry we did that time. 2nd down and 12. Joseph now has 5 carries for 1 yard. Fullback is Cormier. Porter-Ree, the quarterback, takes the snap, play action, wants to throw, has a man in the slot. Cormier drilled by Stripling. Stripling let the first receiver, he kind of watched him a little bit that time, Randy. That's Eric Reynolds let him go, and then he got right there in the passing formation and dropped Cormier after a gain of 3 yards.
Well, the whole time he's watching the quarterback's eyes, and the quarterback telegraphs the ball right to the receiver in the right flat. Stripling just shrugged off the blocker and was right there to meet the receiver, dropping him after a short gain of about 4, and a long third down upcoming for Port Arthur Memorial.
Third down at, let's say, 9 at the 33-yard line. They go 4 receivers, 2 of them split way wide. Porter-Ree in the shotgun. Trey Puck at the center. Here's the snap. Porter-Ree rolls to his right. Now throws back against the grain. And Lee defensively will track him down with the linebacker, Cole Skates, and then cleaned up at the end by Nick Mitchell. Cole Skates, for a second, was a little bit out of position. They threw it over him. Remember, he was a running back. He could have been a running back. But you also come into a school with Keandre Smith and Tyrone Ross and people like that. He's turned out to be a great linebacker for this team. In fact, they lost a couple of 3 yards, and it's 4th down.
Just a fantastic read from Cole Skates. The screenplay really never developed, and right now the lead defensive front, their front 7, is whooping up on the big offensive line for Memorial.
Which one of the concerns that Lee had was the size of their defensive line. Here's a nice punt by Ramiro. Tony Bush will field at the 30. Probably it needs to go down right there at the 33-4-yard line. He got peeled around like a banana. Here's a flag on the field as well. 40-yard punt by Ramiro, who has a pretty good leg, and a 4-yard return. But there's also a flag in the at the end of the play, which might knock Lee back inside the 30-yard line. Most likely at that particular time, a block in the back. So hard not to get your hands on a player who's trying to run downfield when you get a bad angle. So a 40-yard punt. Ramiro has punts of 36, 29, and 40. And that time not only effective because it didn't give Bush much time for a return, but it also will go another 10 yards at the block in the back. Second penalty.
It's a third against Lee now, David.
3:57 to go, first quarter, 14-0. And does Saron Black, does he already look like he's playing college football? He's a big old kid, 6'5", 321. There's no question his favorite college program is Texas. He wore Texas stuff all throughout the time I've ever known him. But all of a sudden, he had to make a commitment, and LSU's been on him pretty hard, and Texas was looking at not as many offensive linemen in this class because they got so many recently. He wanted to go there, but finally when LSU, the defending co-national champions, kept on knocking on his door, he said, I'm coming down there. Matt Flynn probably had a little bit to do with that as well, the former Lee quarterback. Offset eye, T.Y. up the gut, look out, 30, 35, 40, no, not quite, to the 37, gain of 12. Maurice Kinlaw makes the stop for Memorial, but the Red Raiders now have already plays in double-digit yardage of 12, 46, 23, and 12. Wow. T.Y. with 32 yards on 3 carries. Jonathan Williams. Here, look at these 2 receivers to the near side. These 2 young kids could be really good here. Williams and Amy, a sophomore and a junior. This is T.Y. off left tackle, spins away from one, makes him miss, squirts down, all the way to the 44 and a gain of 7 yards. Tackle made by Jared Williams.
Yeah, the first 8 minutes of the game, David, Port Arthur Memorial already has 3 punts, three and outs. The Lee defense is really putting it to them up front, and now the Lee offense is showing great efficiency and a nice bit of running that time. A nice block on the left-hand side by Sam Banks and company.
Williams checks out. D'Angelo Jones, the tall, rangy 6'3" receiver in the game, caught a long pass last week against DeSoto. Giles is the H-back. Sprint draw, Jason Williams gets around the corner, midfield, first down. Into Memorial territory at the 47-yard line. Nice block by D'Angelo Jones and a gain of 10, 9 on the play, and another first down. And did you see, I think one of the differences, Jason Williams was more of a banger last year. He's got an extra little kind of giddy up in his step this year.
A nice pull block from Sam Banks along with Jonah Murphy and a pinch black seal block from the tight end position on the left side, and a nice hole opened up for Jason Williams as he throttled through it for 9 yards in the first down.
Walter Simpson splits to the near side. In the slot, it is Tony Bush. First down, play action. Josh has all sorts of receivers deep. He's got Giles open. He couldn't find him. Well, he did find him. He just overshot him as he had beaten the corner, or actually the safety. And it's such a weapon to have a wide receiver. Nothing better than Brandon Pettigrew because he was a great blocker. But John Giles, remember, Kane stepped up when Pettigrew got hurt as a freshman. Had a very impressive freshman year. Kind of overshadowed a little bit because Pettigrew stayed healthy all of last year and wasn't as involved. But he's caught 28 passes and 3 touchdowns in his career. I think you're going to see a lot of catches for him this year. So Josh misfires. Second down and 10 at the Memorial 47-yard line. Hill bootleg. Has room. Can he get around the linebacker? That's a face mask, and that's a 15-yarder. He was 1 man away from breaking that a long way, but Alexander got him by the collar and then got him by the face mask and brought him down after a gain of about 3, and this is going to be 15 more added on to it.
Wow, that's the 4th penalty of the game for Port Arthur Memorial now for 45 yards already. They're not moving the ball offensively, and the penalties begin to mount up for the Titans. Nice play design once again. 3 blockers leading the way. All he had to do is get by the 1, and he would have had the free sailing down the left sideline, but it was not to be, but to pick up the first down because of the penalty too, David.
So 15 yards after the 4-yard pickup, and so they've shown Tyrone in a couple of different ways. They've shown Jason Williams on the sprint draw. They've shown Peyton Price on kind of the little cross-buck trap. They've shown him on the trap up the middle. Now they've shown Josh in a couple of bootlegs, and if you're Memorial, you don't know where the ball's going. First down at the 28, 2:25 to go, first quarter, 14-0. Robert E. Lee with a stack formation off the left tackle. Here's Peyton Price on that little cross-buck, breaks a tackle into the secondary and has close to another first down at the 18. He is a load. Maurice Kinlaw makes the stop. We have made a lot of calls with Kinlaw, Trahan in the secondary. That's not what you want as a defensive coordinator, TK Harrison.
Misdirection from the left side, rolling right. He runs into a big quagmire in the middle of the field, but just simply rolls out of it and keeps his legs churning, spins back around, picks up another 7 or 8 yards with a nice block up front from Sharon Black leading the way.
Jason Williams is the deep back, the lone setback. Tyrone Ross and Peyton Price also are in the game. In fact, Peyton is the tailback. Here's T.Y. outside, has room to run. 10, inside the 10. Does he get in? He will score. No! They knock him out at the 1. And Sam Banks, the 6 foot or 5'9", 235 senior, peeled around from the left guard position. And T.Y. initially, when he came around the corner, Andy, he was waiting for somebody. Couldn't find anybody. He said, I guess I ought to just keep on going.
Well, he had a little stutter step there at about the 12-yard line, which probably hurt him a little bit, but he kept running and outran the pursuit to the corner of the end zone, was forced out of bounds right at the 1-yard line.
First down and goal. Tyrone Ross with 5 carries for 56 yards. And he's the deep back. Peyton Price and Brad Royal in the game, and there's procedure, and oh boy, you hate to see that. At the 1-yard line, they were going to go behind the big fella, Saron Black, but somebody jumped early, so that's the procedure call that will cost him 5. Brad Royal is, again, a part of that power I formation. Now, I'll tell you something about Brad Royal. Brad Royal was a guy that was in a part of the program, but in the offseason, I saw some of their offseason workouts, and he became somebody that got it. And he has become, and he'll be a player for them. And he really had a very good offseason. They have a brutal offseason program with the mats that they have run by Gary Fleet. First and goal at the 6, T.Y. bounces outside, and he will easily get in. Touchdown! Nice block by Price. Nice block as well by Saran. And Tyrone Ross will score. Touchdown, Robert E. Lee. 6 yards. It's 20-0 Red Raiders.
Right now, the Red Raiders are just doing pretty much anything they want to at will. They get a nice push once again, and the trench warfare is going to the men in red. Wide gaping hole to the left side, and Tyrone Ross just simply tippy-toe through it for 6.
Here comes Cole Skates, who may be the most tired of everybody out there playing linebacker, kicking off about to be 4 times in his 3rd extra point. Snap, hold by Hill, and the kick is good. He's like a good golfer. He barely moves the foot, and it drills it. With 1:31 to go, it's the first quarter. Robert E. Lee 21, Port Arthur Memorial nothing, back in 1 minute on KTBB.
Car shopping can be stressful. With all the clutter out there, it's hard to tell what to buy. But at Jim Lozier's Fire Station Auto Center, we believe that the simplest way is the best way. So we offer a large selection of quality pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs, priced to sell with no hassles. Each vehicle has been through a 20-point inspection for quality assurance. You can shop in comfort under the awnings and check out our newly expanded lot with more inventory than ever before. Jim Lozier's Fire Station Auto Center on the corner of Glenwood and Vine and Tyler.
You know what I like about Texas? We'll always find a way to stay cool. And when our work is through, we know just what to do. Every true Texan loves a DQ.
Pop into DQ for new popcorn chicken. These crispy, delicious, all-white chicken bites are perfect for dipping. Plus, get any size Coke free with a large order. And for all you chocoholics, try our newest treat, the Triple Chocolate Utopia.
DQ, that's what I like about Texas.
Wow, 21-0. Robert E. Lee leading Port Arthur Memorial in the opening game of the 2004 season. Memorial will be back here again next week to play John Tyler, who had a heck of an effort today, but lost to Texas High 17-7.
Oh, Lee extends their drive that time, David. 8 plays, 75 yards, and 227, with Tyrone Ross taking it into the final 6 and his first touchdown of the 2004 season.
Cole Skates. And remember, Lee deferred to start this game. Back deep, Barnes at the 10, 15. Oh, somebody blows that thing up. Holy moly. Was that number 5? Lance Heap, who's a safety. Lance Heap kind of went down, and you know what? That's the one thing. This team struggled a couple of times last year when they had some problems with a couple of long kickoff returns. I think also to carry in Cuba. Should have been given a little bit more on that as well. So he and Heap just went, and they are fierce. And when you get great speed, you can get down there before they set that wedge. And Memorial starts this drive at their 16-yard line, and they've got to wonder, what did we come up here for? Now, we got to say something here. They were losing a year ago in the playoffs, and I'll get to that in just a moment. It was an incredible come-from-behind victory for Dean Colbert. Portery to Joseph. Gets about 3 or 4, maybe 5 outside the 20. Cole Skates was there among others, and so was big number 75. That's Nick McLean, as they continue a monstrous rotation if they can at defensive tackle in the game for Lee as well. 45, which is Justin Simmons, and Lance Heap remains in, I think it's safety. They were down in a playoff game, I think Eisenhower. And they came back to win 41-40, and they were getting smattered by about 40 points. They were down like 37-3 or something. And they came back to win that game. Here's the fullback trap to Cormier. Here's a flag down. Not much there, a couple of yards. And it's DeHaven. Warren DeHaven, the 5'10", 217-pound senior. Last year with 90 tackles. And Justin Simmons in the game. And I think the Lee coaches, when they told me that they didn't have as much depth as they'd like in some places, I don't know, a little rope-a-dope going on, because they look like they've got depth in a lot of positions. And they've got guys who are coming in there. I mean, 66, Gabriel Lacey, a 256-yard defensive tackle. That's a pretty good load at defensive tackle.
Well, Lee is really just a little bit bigger this year in a lot of places on defense, size-wise, but they're just as fast as they were last year, at least this first quarter. It seems like we should be at halftime already, but Lee is so totally dominating early here in this contest. It's just a matter of seeing how much longer they can keep it up, Dave.
By the way, this broadcast on AM 600 KTBB through Gleiser Communications LLC will be heard and seen on Wednesday of next week on Cox Communications channels 18 or 62 on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. The entire broadcast. Porter-Reed back to throw, trouble, sacked. And that right there is something that we haven't seen from Lee at the defensive tackle position in forever. A 53 on the sack, Jacoby McKenzie. And I'm talking about, that looked like Warren Sapp at Miami of Florida, the way he sniped through there. And Memorial's got to have the deer in the headlights look right now.
Well, he really just shucked right through the center, Trey Puckett. He blew right off of his left shoulder pad, and as soon as Porter-Reed stood up, he was hammered for a 6-yard loss.
I mean, that's the end of the first quarter. It has been all Robert E. Lee, and listen to the fans. 21-0 Red Raiders, back in 1 minute for the second quarter on KTBB.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there. I'm there. We're there with nearly 50 degrees and certificates and as many as 400 continuing education classes. Wherever you want to go, we can take you there because we're right here. Tyler Junior College.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there. I'm there.
To see this sign on your house, put this sign out front. Century 21 Advantage. Call or visit our website.
Here's a question. If you needed your insurance, who would you call? Not the name of the company, but the name of the person. You've got 2 seconds. Coming up blank, you may want to consider Allstate. You'd have a local agent you can count on, a licensed professional whose name you know, not just a number. You deserve a relationship with a real person.
For all your insurance needs, call the McIntyre Insurance Agency in the Albertson Shopping Center.
Porter-Reed, they're going to throw a halfback pass here. Now they're going to just try to get out to the 5-yard line, and that doesn't even work. It's Dominique Van Zandt, so quick, 6 foot 190, great-looking athlete, the senior. Last year, on 34 tackles, and that was a flea flicker that they lost a couple of yards.
This is really just a great bit of speed and pursuit. 5 or 6 red shirts read the play beautifully and string it out to the far side of the field, and he loses another yard, so it's going to be 4th and forever. And Port Arthur Memorial will punt for the 4th time already in the game from deep in their own end zone.
Looked like Jason Stripling came up limping a little bit, and you talk about built. He's a man-child. Back to punt is Ramiro from the back of the end zone, and he gets it end over end. Will hit at their own 30, bounce up in the air, and Tony will pick it up at the 33. Try to bounce outside and gets about 3 or 4 yards. That hidden yardage where he didn't let it go. He could have let it go. They start at the 32, but what the heck, get 5 more. Just take care of it. 28-yard punt by Ramiro. And Tony Bush has already racked up 25 yards in returns on punts. And Lee up 21-0. At the Memorial 28-yard line, and Preston Hill, what a great story he was. He and his brother went back and forth. Josh started the year, had a tough first half against Lufkin. Preston came in, had a great couple of 3 or 4 games. Then Josh came in to relieve him against Lufkin here at Rose Stadium, and of course had a great start. Here's Preston, has a man wide open. That's Price, and he couldn't get it to him in time. He just couldn't get it to him. Jared Williams, by the way, the number 3 for Memorial, and again, he was wide open. Lionel Revelta forced that thing to go a little bit quicker, and Preston probably comes in and goes, wait a minute, I've seen my brother do that with nobody in front of him. What's going on here, guys?
To give credit to Andrew Bailey, number 55, as he also was one of the other players that was right in the face of Preston Hill, forcing him to throw the ball a little bit earlier than he had anticipated.
Lee could also have a chance to get some of the younger offensive linemen involved. It's still early, folks. We're not trying to say this thing is over. Here's Tyrone at the 25, kind of goes backwards and then knifes down to the 24 for a gain of 4 yards. It's now 3rd down and 6. Isaiah Trahan, the junior safety, on the stop for Memorial. And also Richard Alexander. It's now 3rd down and 6.
This is only going to be Lee's second 3rd down of the contest. They got a 1st down, actually scored the touchdown on the long run by Peyton Price on their first 3rd down of the game, and this is their second in their 4th possession.
John Giles checks out. He's got his hand heavily wrapped. I'm not sure about that. And now a timeout. Timeout with 10:31 to go in the 2nd quarter with our score. Robert E. Lee 21, Memorial nothing, back in 30 seconds.
Your one-stop sports shop, Tyler Athletics. Represent your team like never before. On the field, on the court, it's all in our store. The spirit of your team, the season of your dreams. Looking for the victory, we've got what you need. Your one-stop sports shop, Tyler Athletics. Your one-stop sports shop, Tyler Athletics.
It is 8:40 on News Talk 600 KTBB. Second high school game of the night, also on 1490 ESPN. Tyler Junior College with Kevin Simon, Jamie Lennon, Bill Coates in their game in Corsicana against Navarro. And Justin will update that, of course, at halftime. Andrew Bailey, the junior, and Ryan Davenport, a senior, in the offensive line position for Lee. And you will see them rotate quite a bit with Brian Culp and Matt Holland, and also Stephen Christian, the center, in for Blake Larman, as those 6 guys will get a lot of different rotations, and that's the luxury. You try to get them as much as you can. So again, and even 55 Bailey, of course, is now the center, and then we're talking about Christian and Davenport guard and tackle. Here's that screen that they run so well, but this one they've got trouble, and Preston will just go out of bounds at the 35. And what that did do, instead of being able to throw it away, that will now take them very close to being out of field goal range. Now, you'd say at the high school level, 35-yard line, 52. Hey, Cole Skates has kicked a 50-yard field goal in his career, and they might go for it here anyway at the 36-yard line. So the middle screen, which they've really been very much a bread-and-butter play for them, Memorial did a great job of reading that play. Incomplete, not incomplete, but loss of, a bunch of yards, 10 yards in the sack, as Preston stepped out of bounds. 4th and 16, back to throw. Hill wants to just go deep. He's got a man down there and it's tipped away, incomplete. He had Bush, but that was in the double coverage, so that was not the receiver to throw to anyway. Incomplete pass. D'Angelo Jones was also in the coverage, so was John Williams for Lee, but a nice little drive that blows up, and Memorial give the Titans some credit that time as they bulled their neck a little bit and said, okay, enough is enough.
Yeah, it was Raphael Cooten, the middle linebacker, who snuffed out the prior play. He picked up the running back, actually the tight end coming out, Giles, to make the catch, and Preston Hill forced him out of bounds with a big 10-yard loss.
So Memorial needing something, down 21-0 with a lot of time to go in the game. Will come back on offense with Porter the quarterback, Cormier and Joseph offset eye right behind him. There's some movement, and that might be against Sherfield. Ricky Sherfield jumped first, which then forced Johnson and Mingo to move, but I think this might go against Lee because they encroached that time in the neutral zone. Offsides against Robert E. Lee. And that's that rule that has changed dramatically, because otherwise a lot of guys could kind of, and it's human instinct just to, so Robert E. Lee now, very impressive, 21-0. But now a couple of little things, and you got to make sure you don't let a Memorial team get back in this game starting to feel like they can put some momentum together.
There's
4 penalties against Lee.
5 for Port Arthur Memorial.
Porter-E, and first down yardage out near midfield. A nice run that time by Robert Joseph, and he picked up 9 yards, give him 10 to midfield, and Skates and Nick Mitchell on the stop, and the Titans have something going here.
Nice little push up front from their offensive line on that play, David, as Puckett, the center, and Don Holloway, the left guard, opened a little bit of a hole, just enough for Joseph to squirt through and pick up a nice gain.
Takarian Cuba, another one of those very talented sophomores, was in the game right there. He was on that special teams play a moment ago. He checks out. Lee now with all sorts of players on the defensive front spread out. Porter-E, deep pitch back Tailback, nothing there. Oh, my goodness. Eric Ajiki, Dominique Van Zant, Jason Stripling all in the area. And then Ajiki came up, and Mike Owens has said, and we're talking about a team that's had some safeties, but Mike Owens and DeMarcus Robinson was about as good as you can get until he got hurt last year, said that Eric Ajiki is a Division I player that might be the best safety they've ever had.
Well, he had a 4.3 at the Oklahoma State camp this summer. That's a 4.3 and that's fleet and very, very swift.
And he's 6'1".
Yeah.
And he's 6'1", about 180. I'd like to put a little more weight on him before he gets to the college level. They'll do that with those extra fat burgers that they put in you. 2nd down and 11. Porter Reed, the tight end, far side at the near hash for Memorial. Play action pass. He rolls to the near side as a man wide open. His fullback has a first down at the 40. Cuts back against the grain and will maybe lose the first down. He ran into the big defensive tackle for Robert E. Lee, Gabriel Lacey, and will end up being a couple of yards short of the first down. He had it and then went backwards.
He's probably less than a half a yard now, David. Just a well-designed play is a little bit of trickery, a little bit of tomfoolery that time for Portery as he raced to the right side, rolled back left side, and then found his receiver wide open in the flat in front of him, and then he made a nice juke move past his GK to pick up 9 yards.
Saron Black is in the middle of that defensive line. 4-man front on 3rd and short. Portery, fullback Cormier, I think he got it. Well, maybe not. Looks like he may be shy again as they bring in Gary Chalk, who's the head linesman on the far side. It's going to be very close. Nice job by Lee to get that force up front with 66 again. Gabriel Lacey and Saron Black, you put those two together, that's about 550 pounds, and they are short again. So a nice job for the lead defense on 3rd down and about a yard, and they maybe get 3/4 of a yard. Lance Heap in at safety. Portery, the quarterback, on 4th and about a half a yard. Tight end, far side, quarterback keeper, and he lost the ball, and this is going to cost him a first down, and he recovers at the 44-yard line. Robert E. Lee has stopped, and you got to think, Randy, that the forced pressure on 3rd down forced Portery to have problems with some jitters on the snap there.
Well, he wanted to back out a little bit early, and he did, but he did take the ball with him, and he squirted right past him. He was able to fall on it, but by that time, the 4th down was over with, and Lee makes a stop.
First down now. Red Raiders defense flexing their muscles after a couple of first downs. And then you go back to Cormier, who was at the first down marker, in fact, even passed it, and then he tried to make that extra move and lost a couple of yards, and he ran into Lacey. Split receiver, Tony Bush to the near side. Split brawl to Tyrone, bounces outside, makes one miss, and then kind of turns and twists and dives for about 4. John Giles down there in 55 on the tackle, Lionel Revelta. Well, Tyrone, you talk about durability. You remember the game, the unfortunate loss to Midland Lee where he broke his arm. Then he steps on this thing in his front yard.
Just the little things that add up. And
but overall, the young man now, after that gain of 4, has 70 yards tonight and has 3,050 yards in his career. 2nd down and 6, T.Y. on that counter trade. Not much there as they try to run right at the middle linebacker, and great job, and there's a flag down that comes down at the end of that play. Boy, Memorial makes a nice play, and then they make a mistake at the end of it.
Wow.
17, Isaiah Trahan with the culprit, and also there was Jeremy Bernard who blew up that play initially. And that's that counter trade that they would love to be able to run a little bit more, and then you can go play action off of that. 5-yard personal. No, it's a 5-yard mark-off, so it's going to be a first down. It appears at about the 48-yard line of Memorial after only about a half a foot gain from Tyrone.
Well, that's a 6th penalty for the Titans now in the first half still, David, for 60 yards. And that's something that Coach Colbert really is going to have to take the task with his team at halftime.
From what I've been told, and Bob West, the sports columnist and a tremendous writer down in Port Arthur, he told me that Memorial is traditionally, and Lee goes into kind of this wing formation. Here's the counter to Williams at the 45, breaks a tackle inside the 40, has a first down and a gain of 7 yards. Jared Williams on the stop that time, along with number 23, which is Nick Gallo. But the one thing that I was told is that they are a traditionally slow starting team, and he said there's really not sure why, because they've got a system, they've got plenty of numbers, they've got a good off-season program. They start, and they got spring football, but they've always kind of been a little bit of a slow starting team. Jason picked up 7. Offset eye, play action, Preston Hill. He runs the bootleg, gets around the corner, 40, 35, 30. Out of bounds, first down. Inside the 30, look at the lead block that time. 55 downfield, Bailey. And the big monster himself, Saron Black, the human island. Also down there to give a block was Brad Royal. And Lee picks up 12 yards and a first down.
Saron Black, he just mowed over number 69, Corey Marks. He actually kicked up underneath him and laid him back on his backside for a nice pancake block from the right tackle position.
I think Saron may want to sit on me after that one. He's just a monster, and he looks so much. He got up to a huge, because he had that meniscus injury in his left knee right before the end of the year. Got pretty heavy, but he has been in a brutal offseason program. Williams outside 30-25, gains about 4. And Raphael Cutton, the middle linebacker. And here comes another flag at the end of the play. And John Giles got involved in a shoving match with Robert E. Lee. With the Port Arthur Memorial, and he might have gotten caught at the end of that play. Not sure exactly. John's got his head kind of looking at Owens with a little fear in his eyes.
Hands
on his hip, that's automatically you're guilty. Head down, hands on your hip. Dead ball, personal foul. It's against Memorial. John, I owe you an extra Dairy Queen Blizzard. Well, he gets those for free anyway. But it looked like maybe, and the Port Arthur Memorial fans are pretty upset, and so is Dean Colbert, is that what happened is that John, okay. John, I don't owe you the Blizzard anymore. It was against Lee.
Well, it's always the second man who retaliates that generally gets thrown the flag, and that's the one that was caught by Craig Smoke on the sideline, and big 15-yarder backs Lee up again. I've got him now for 6 penalties myself.
6:06 to go, first half, and all of a sudden a very crisp first quarter has, kind of gotten a little sloppy here. 21-0 though, the bottom line, Lee up by 3 touchdowns. First half, Lee on the ground, 174 yards. And they've only thrown the ball twice. Preston Hill, play action, has nice time, has a man open. That's Giles, 20. Can he get to the corner? Down inside the 5. John Giles, who gets caught with the hand in the cookie jar, then gets the big play, gain of 36 yards. And how good was that? Robert Barnes saved the touchdown.
Well, it's just great execution, great scheme. You can say it all day long, but Lee knows how to do it. And really, Port Arthur Memorial had no one home. The safety caught it towards the end, but he had to catch up with Giles inside the 5 and force him out of bounds. It's first and goal for the Red Raiders.
He is very quick. He is a good-looking athlete, and John Giles is so good about trying to weave himself in those little drag patterns, and he had 36 yards there. Here comes the handoff to Tyrone, breaks the first tackle, and then runs into the same guy, I think, and got nothing at about the 3-yard line. 5:36 to go, and Lee trying to stick one more in with a 21-0 lead. And give credit to junior linebacker Richard Alexander, who's played a whale in the first half.
Along with Cutton on the defensive side for the Titans, they form a nice duo at the linebacker position for Port Arthur Memorial.
Simpson out, Brad Royal out, and Robert E. Lee now brings in the hammer, Jason Williams. And they'll go full house backfield or not. No, Giles is in the H-back position. Peyton Price the up back, and Williams is the tailback. Here's Jason, upright tackle, gets around the corner. Great block by Peyton Price. Touchdown, Robert E. Lee. He was never touched. John Giles also downfield. The scrappy little tight end, and Matt Holland with a great seal block. And it's 27-0, Robert E. Lee.
Efficiency, and Lee just is getting all they can get out of their running game tonight, David, and the blocking up front, really in the trenches. They look just as strong this year with even more numbers and depth, too.
5:01 to go, first half, and Cole Skates with his 4th extra point attempt. Hold is good, kick is good, and Robert E. Lee in total control. Wow, 28-0 Red Raiders back in 1 minute. You're listening to Lee Football on News Talk 600 KTBB.
You know what I like about Texas? We'll always find a way to stay cool. And when our work is through, we know just what to do. Every true Texan loves a DQ.
Pop into DQ for new popcorn chicken. These crispy, delicious, all-white chicken bites are perfect for dipping. Plus, get any size Coke free with a large order. And for all you chocoholics, try our newest treat, the Triple Chocolate Utopia.
DQ, that's what I like about Texas.
To see this sign on your house, put this sign out front. Century 21 Advantage. Call or visit our website.
5:01 to go, first half. It's been all Robert E. Lee, 28-0. The defenses look good. The offenses look absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, Smokey, 6 plays, 57 yards on that jaunt. 2:28 off the clock. They took 1 more second off their largest drive of the night, and 4 scores now. 3 different running backs have scored with Price, Ross, and now Jason Williams adding his first TD of the season as well.
Kicking off, Cole Skates. It is Barnes back deep along with the tailback as well, Joseph, Robert Joseph. Again, they're playing without Jamal Charles, the All-American running back. Cole Skates kicks it off, line drive kick, and Barnes will catch it at about the 2. Plants his foot, goes against the wedge, has a little bit of room and gets out to the 25-yard line, but a nice job. Lance Heap got in there early to kind of force him down, and 45 makes the stop for Lee, and that's Justin Simmons, another one of those scrappy defensive ends that plays for Willie Williams on the outside. And that special teams coverage can become contagious. And I remember Cordero Mumphrey and Stripling and Dominique Van Zant last year. And, of course, DeMarcus Robinson before the injury, he was as good a special teams coverage guy as I've ever seen.
You know, that's probably the one area where Lee has really vastly improved the last 2 seasons is special teams, kickoffs, punts, et cetera, et cetera.
Martell Van Zant, remember the hit he had on the JT game a couple of years ago? And I mean, you get out there, it's fun. I mean, you make a hit like that, it can. Oh my goodness! 1st and 10, Porter Reed play action. Looking, have a lot of time going over the middle. He's got Micah Johnson in great coverage. He had number 7, which is Dustin Thomas, glued to him, and it looked like Micah was the intended receiver, and Porter Reed had a lot of time to throw that football.
Well, great technique. He kept the receiver inside of him, and then as the pass was overthrown, he had a better shot at catching it. Porter Reed shows a nice arm 40 yards downfield in the air. Outstretched arms of Micah Johnson, and unable to come up with it for Lee.
Tyler Owens in the game now at defensive end. That's kind of a familiar last name, huh? The right defensive end for Robert E. Lee as they continue to have a lot of different players in that rotation. In motion. Porter Reed with a lone setback behind him on 2nd down and 10. A little delay play, and there's nothing there. Absolutely nothing there. And Warren DeHaven was not fooled on that play, and then a lot of players come up and clean him up. Dominique Van Zant, Lance Heap also in the game. Trevor Reed, there's another familiar name. Let's see, 53 will check out. Jacoby McKenzie.
It's not just 1 or 2 players, David. It's 4 or 5 swarming to the ball on every single play, every single running play, too. And that one appeared to look like it had a small opening at first. DeHaven gets there first, and 3 or 4 red shirts are there behind him to make the stop.
Joseph has 9 carries for 8 yards. 3rd down and 10 with 4:06 to go in the half. 28-0 lead. Porter Reed, sideline pass in and through the arms of number 7. He had a man in front of him. Trevor Reed did a great job of getting between the quarterback and the receiver. Coverage that time from Quet Nicholson, and it goes through the hands of number 7, Dustin Thomas. And Port Arthur Memorial is going to have to punt it back again, down by 4 scores.
And Lee stops him again. This will be their 5th punt upcoming of the night, David. And
Craig was mentioning a minute ago, 5 punts in the first half. And they had the one little thing here a minute ago when they got down to the lead 41-yard line, but they couldn't get anything done, and they're going to take a timeout. 4 minutes to go first half, 28-0. Red Raiders of Robert E. Lee dominating this game, and Craig Smoke has been on the sideline. And Craig, we talked a little bit before the game, haven't had much time to talk to you during the game. It's been so busy. Your thoughts so far?
Well, I'm real impressed with Lee. They got a lot of speed like they did last year. Their defense is swarming everywhere. Port Arthur can't even barely get the ball across midfield. The offense is looking nice and crisp, and they're getting a lot of young players in.
Thank you very much. You'll also be able to talk to Mike Owens. And I always go back to the first time that Craig did a game was the game in which they played down in Temple. Remember
terrible.
that?
9-6 loss.
And they were down at halftime. Yep. And the first time that Craig had to do a sideline interview with Mike Owens, it was one of the probably worst foul moods that Mike has ever been in. And I told Craig, I said, hey, if you get through that one, you're going to have a pretty good time in this career, in this business. And he's done a great job ever since. 4 minutes to go, 28-0 Memorial. And Asael Romero will come in to kick his fifth punt of the night. Tony Bush was 30 last year. He's number 3. Cordero Mumphrey was 90 last year. He's now number 19. A couple of guys who have changed their numbers compared to what they used to be. Snap coming from the 25. Good snap, no pressure. Line drive kick, and it's a nice one, too. Wow, hits the lead 30, and Bush will pick it up at the 27. Tony at the 30 makes one man miss and now looks for some friends on the outside, and he does. And he's knocked out of bounds at the 38-yard line. Very nice punt by Romero. 47-yard punt, 12-yard return from Tony Bush. And the Red Raiders, who have been, except for one drive, as execution perfect as you can be for a first game, will come back on the field. Josh Hill back in at quarterback. Williams, the receiver, near side. D'Angelo Jones, far side. Peyton Price and T.Y. are the upbacks as they go into that Statue of Liberty type formation. Jonah Murphy, the tight end, to the near side. They run that play to T.Y. and they didn't see him get it. 40, 35, he might go, folks. 30, go baby, go. 20, what a beautiful play. Touchdown. They ran the Statue of Liberty. The reverse behind his back, 62 yards, and Tyrone Ross has gone over 100 yards, and he made a couple of guys who had the angle on him look like they were standing still.
Well, the whole right side of the Robert E. Lee line did open a gaping hole, too, and only one or two Titans really had a chance at really just arm tackling Ross as he skirted past them, darted past everyone, and about the 35-yard line, he was in the sailing for 6.
Tyrone Ross goes 62 yards. And they set up in a shotgun as if they were going to maybe go into a 2-minute offense, and they faked it to Price. Behind his back, handoff from Josh and T.Y. Wow. He got a slot. Did they not throw a flag?
They did not.
You know what? That is unfair, actually, to Cole Skates, because the offensive line for Lee kind of moved, and I think Cole may have lost his concentration, and with that was waiting for a flag, and he misses it off to the right. He doesn't miss many of them. 34-0. Robert E. Lee with 3:37 to go. First half, we're back in 1 minute.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there. I'm there. We're there with nearly 50 degrees and certificates and as many as 400 continuing education classes. Wherever you want to go, we can take you there because we're right here. Tyler Junior College.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there. I'm there.
Here's a question. If you needed your insurance, who would you call? Not the name of the company, but the name of the person. You've got 2 seconds. Coming up blank, you may want to consider Allstate. You'd have a local agent you can count on, a licensed professional whose name you know, not just a number. You deserve a relationship with a real person.
For all your insurance needs, call the McIntyre Insurance Agency in the Albertson Shopping Center.
3:37 to go in the first half, and Lee on one play, 62-yard dart by Tyrone Ross, who has 132 yards and 11 carries. Randy, not much of a scoring drive there, huh?
Well, the deception that they had on the play really set it all up, and once he got past the interior line, he was on his way. In 10 seconds, the play took, and Lee scores again. That's, of course, the 5th touchdown of the evening.
So Cole Skates with a kickoff, and he hits it very high and very deep, and it's going to be the tailback Joseph at about the 5, at the 10, 15, out close to the 23. Jonah Murphy, QB 82 at the bottom of that pile. James Wilson on the special teams tackle for Robert E. Lee, 3:29. And if you're Port Arthur Memorial, I mean, Randy, you've done a lot. I mean, you've tried to run the ball. I know you're missing your main guy, your weapon, in Jamal Charles, with 2,015 yards last year and a 20-some touchdowns. But you got to wonder, what are we doing here? I mean, this is unbelievable.
Well, they're facing a team that's very well coached, obviously, and that's playing as if they're in mid-season form. And they come out clicking on all cylinders with the exception of one possession. And the defense has really just shut down Portery and company, too.
Colby Ray in the defensive end for Robert E. Lee. As the rotation continues, there's the fullback, Cormier, tossed down like a dish rag by Sam Banks, who's playing that defensive tackle position. And it's now second down and 11, 52 there as well. The linebacker, Trevor Reed, and Memorial now with 3:13 to go, hoping they can just run some clock.
And really pretty much whomever Lee puts into the game, they just keep it up. The pursuit is just, as if they're in the 5th or 6th game. That's the way they're playing, and they're primed right now. They're just playing very well.
Lance Heap and Takarian Cuba and Ajiki are the safeties. Van Zant, DeHaven, and Reed the linebackers. Banks, the defensive tackle, off. Nice little move by Joseph to get what he got out to the 32-yard line. As he knifes his way for 6. And Eric Ajiki on the stop. The 2:35 now clock counting in the game is Jacoby McKenzie as they give Sam Banks a rest. And again, the thought is that Jerry Reed, who does a great job with the defensive tackles, was to get Saran and Sam Banks around 12 to 15 snaps on defense, and everybody else fills in the gaps. 3rd down and about 2. Offset I. They give it to Joseph. Dances around, and I don't think he got it. I think he's just shy of the 1st down as the defense led by what looked like DeHaven, and I think 36 in the game. That's Colby Ray, also involved. And it brings up 4th down and a yard. And what do you do here if you're Dean Colbert with a minute 50 to go and down by 34 points?
Well, you try to make something happen offensively. I don't know if punting the ball again is going to do any good. At this stage, you try to have a positive result. Well, they may punt after all.
Yeah, I think that. Hey, by the way, there is an upset in the making. Co-defending national champion Southern Cal losing against Virginia Tech 10-7 in a game that Southern Cal scored first. So it's 10-7 Va-Tech leading Southern Cal, and that game is midway through the 3rd quarter, and Port Arthur Memorial needs to take a timeout. Kerry Ainsworth, put the microphone up against you, man. We're going to get you involved here a little bit. You've been watching this for a while. Just give me your little perception of this.
This may be the best league team I've seen in a long time.
Hold on just a second. There you go.
As I was saying, this may be the best elite team I've seen in the last 10 years. I haven't seen this much speed on the field ever.
Yeah, it used to be when Mike showed up, it was a slow type of methodical team, and then the speed started coming in, and more of it. And I tell you, I've been to a lot of off-season program and conditionings at various schools all over East Texas in all the years I've been covering football, but the mat drills and how that brings this program together. I know everybody works out hard, but some guys work out sometimes just a little bit more,
Well, the players fear that mat drill. They dread going into off-season for Coach Fleet.
And he'll know whether or not you're giving it everything you got, too. And I've seen some guys, and I will just say this, there are big trash cans on the corners of those mats, and it's not because of the trash that they need to put inside of them. Minute 23 to go. Here comes the kick from Ramiro. Low snap, nice job of digging it out. Nice line drive punt that Tony will pick up at the 37. Looks for the wall at the 40. Now cuts back against the grain, will go down at the 44-yard line, and a nice job of catching the punt and getting 7-8 yards out of it. 87 on the stop for Memorial. It's to Darrell Woods. 31-yard punt by Ramiro and a 6-yard return from Tony Bush. And this is a lead team that has done this, guys, with a minute 11 to go, 34-0, and they've thrown 3 passes. One of them complete, the 36-yarder to John Giles, has set up the touchdown from Jason Williams.
Well, the misdirections along with the counter tray, which Lee is very well known for, has really opened it up too. When you shift Ross from one side to the other, send him in motion and give him the ball, and then he can do great things too.
High snap, Hill has it, steps up, Now wants to scramble and has room on the sideline. Looks for a block. There's T.Y. that gives him a block. He steps out of bounds. Very smart. Stops the clock with 1:02 to go. And Josh Hill, on a play that didn't work, picks up 16 yards.
I think he's a step or two faster this year, David. He really looks downfield to try to find his primary receivers. The whole time he has Ross here on the near side wide open as a safety valve, but instead he decides to go ahead and take it. Then Ross alertly gets in front of him and leads the way for an extra 8 or 9 yards with a nice block.
255 yards rushing in the first half for Lee. 1st and 10 at the 39-yard line. There's a draw play to T.Y. off left tackle, and he tried to bounce it outside and will gain just a yard. It's a great play. We've talked about Richard Alexander as he played a nice first half for a defense that's been gassed quite a bit. And T.Y. went inside, and as a great running back likes to do, bounce it out when there's not much there, but unfortunately there was 48 there. Timeout Lee, 54 seconds to go in the half, 34-0 Lee, back in 30 seconds.
You know what I like about Texas? We'll always find a way to stay cool. And when our work is through, we know just what to do. Every true Texan loves a DQ.
Pop into DQ for new popcorn chicken. These crispy, delicious, all-white chicken bites are perfect for dipping. Plus, get any size Coke free with a large order. And for all you chocoholics, try our newest treat, the Triple Chocolate Utopia.
DQ, that's what I like about Texas.
54 seconds remaining, and Lee wanting maybe a little bit more. And I tell you what I like to do. You like to score here, but I would like to see them have a chance to give Cole Skates a chance to kick field goals. You know, my theory is about getting field goal attempts in, so when you need them during a clutch part of the a game later on. 2nd down at about 9. Josh back to throw, steps up in the pocket over the middle. Simpson with a great grab. And you talk about a kid playing with some pain. Walter Simpson, 17 yards on the catch. Over the middle, you see his left calf is heavily taped. Oh, there's a flag down. Well, I'm saying he was 17-yard pickup, holding though against Lee at the 40. And Walter, on the first week of practice, had his he just fell to the turf as if somebody had shot him in the leg, and you could see the big old black and blue bruise that was coming off his calf, and he kind of has just gutted it out, and he's going to play tonight and makes a very nice catch. Came up, caught it in traffic, which is hard to do when you're running over the middle like that, but this is going to come back and a holding call against the Red Raiders. And that's the only thing that they've done wrong tonight is the penalties, which happen sometimes in the first part of the season. Back to throw, Josh Hill over the middle, screen to John Giles. Not much there, and there's a flag down, an illegal man downfield at the feet of big number 76, Ryan Davenport, and this drive is, as it gets kind of fancy, is going backwards. And Richard Alexander, once again, is the man at the stop, and this will probably cost another 5 or 10 yards.
Yeah, this will be number 8 against Lee by my count, David, and Port Arthur Memorial has 6. So a lot of laundry on the ground tonight in this ball game, and that's one thing. That's one area that they can work on to improve too. And of course, a lot of this is jitters and anxiety and a little bit of rust that they're working out as well. But Lee hasn't had too much rust otherwise.
No, they haven't. I mean, and a lot of times you're talking about a lot of plays that normally would be added into the mix for some program as the season progresses. Here's the first game of the year, and they're playing, you know, they run a lot of tricky stuff. Not tricky stuff, but a lot of stuff that takes tremendous execution, and they run screen plays and draws about as well as you can expect. Jonah Murphy in the game, one of the tight end positions. Here's that run around the corner to Jason Williams. Midfield, 40. Gets a block, Williams, 30. First down, 20. 15 out of bounds. It's the same play they ran that T.Y. went 62 yards. And again, what I'll tell you right now is Jason Williams has picked up some time in that 40 speed. Jonathan Williams with a great job downfield. Kerry Ainsworth found that 41 yards and a first down and out of bounds to stop the clock at the 15.
And even a 2nd and 27 play doesn't hold back Lee as they run it to perfection. A little more razzle-dazzle. And tomfoolery again. He breaks off to the right side after the reverse back to the near side of the field for Lee.
Williams is a flanker to the near side. Split receivers Bush and Amy to the far side. Back to throw. Josh goes corner to the end zone. Man open, almost picked off. That kind of took a little longer to get to the corner. Amy came to the near side at about the goal line, and Tony Bush to the far side, and Lee tried to stick one more in with 19 seconds to go, and Josh with that nice arm, but that thing went right through the defensive back, Joseph, and it's now second down, but right now the time is of the essence, 19 seconds to go.
You know, the way Lee has really moved the ball pretty much at will, it kind of feels like the Naaman Forest playoff game last year in By District, where they rolled up over 500 yards and moved the ball pretty much as they wanted to as well, the 11th game of the year.
Tyrone now in the slot to the far side, and it's Peyton Price, the up back. Back to throw, Josh. They set up the screen. Now he has to roll. Now looking for a man. Got to be a man downfield. Now he throws it in the end zone. No, he throws it out of the field of play. And they were trying to, that's the one thing that Memorial has not bid on was that middle screen. They've done a very good job. And Raphael Cutton and Jeremy Bernard keeping that thing from happening. And 10 seconds to go. One more play, and then you'd think they have a chance for a field goal attempt. Got so many weapons, so many different guys. I mean, look at the first half. Ross has 132, Williams has 60, Price has 59, and then Josh and Preston, Josh and Preston have also been involved. And Giles had the big reception. Back to throw, Hill, corner route to Simpson, pass, underthrown, or he caught it. He did catch it. What a catch by Walter Simpson with 4 seconds to go in the half, as he went down underneath the cornerback, Maurice Kinlaw, and picks up 13 yards for the first down. Man, Walter digs one out of the dirt.
That was a shoestring catch, and Lee will now call their timeout to try to work in one more play before the end of the quarter and the half, too, David.
So Mike Owens brings over his weapons, and with 4 seconds to go in the first half, the ball sits at the Memorial 2-yard line. And they got all sorts of different options right here. And this is pride factor for Memorial. They don't want to see this going in. 34-0. Robert E. Lee will bypass the field goal, and they go offset eye with Peyton Price. Giles is the H-back, and T.Y. is the deep man. Here's the sprint draw. Outside, touchdown. Blocked by the wide receiver, Tony Bush. And T.Y. gets in for the third time in the first half. It is 40-0, Robert E. Lee. This is absolutely mind-boggling.
Great block on the right-hand side, too. Give the big guys up front, the Hosses, they're really doing a great job. And really, this game has been won right in the trenches thus far in the first half, as Lee has used 7 or 8 different linemen and done pretty much as they have wanted to all game long.
And let's talk about this again. You mentioned one in the trenches. We knew Saran and Sam Banks, and they've got their varsity letters all stacked up. But Culp, Holland, Larman, Christian, Bailey, and Davenport have also been a big part of this. Here's the snap. Kick by Cole is good. And the last play of the first half, Robert E. Lee, 41, Memorial nothing, and Craig Smoke with head coach Mike Owens.
Coach Owens, I think a lot of people knew this was going to be a pretty good game. I don't think many people thought you'd be up 40-0 at halftime. Talk a little bit about your team's performance on both offense and defense.
Well, our defense is playing great, and our offensive linemen are doing a great job. Running backs, everybody's playing well right now. And, I don't know. I think they may be a little bit flat, and I think the longer it's gone, the worse it's gotten. So we just got to keep our intensity up, because I don't want the kids hurt in the second half.
Speaking of that, what are you going to tell your team going in here into halftime? What are you going to talk to them about?
Well, we got to stay focused, because if you go in and you lose focus, then that's when people get hurt, and we're not going to have that. We're going to continue to go and play hard, just like it's 0-0. That's what we're going to do.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, Craig, thanks to Mike Owens, thanks to Craig Smoke, and also, of course, the rest of our crew, Justin Brinker, Mike LaRue, Randy Johnson, and Kerry Ainsworth. It is 41-0. Robert E. Lee at the half. Back with our halftime report after this on News Talk 600 KTBB.
You know what I like about Texas? We'll always find a way to stay cool. And when our work is through, we know just what to do. Every true Texan loves a DQ.
Pop into DQ for new popcorn chicken. These crispy, delicious, all-white chicken bites are perfect for dipping. Plus, get any size Coke free with a large order. And for all you chocoholics, try our newest treat, the Triple Chocolate Utopia.
DQ, that's what I like about Texas.
Card shopping can be stressful. With all the clutter out there, it's hard to tell what to buy. But at Jim Lozier's Fire Station Auto Center, we believe that the simplest way is the best way. So we offer a large selection of quality pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs, priced to sell with no hassles. Each vehicle has been through a 20-point inspection for quality assurance. You can shop in comfort under the awnings and check out our newly expanded lot with more inventory than ever before. Jim Lozier's Fire Station Auto Center on the corner of Glenwood and Vine and Tyler.
Ladies and gentlemen, join me in doing a spectacular halftime show presented to you by Robert E. Lee High School. We'd like you to sit back and enjoy the incredible Southern Belle Drill Team and the fabulous Red Raider Band. On the 50-yard line, Southern Belle officers are Captain Shelley Greenwich, Ashley Lance, Kara Richmond, Lindsay Templeton, Ricky Donaldson, and Courtney Donaldson. Bell guards are head guard Alex Pierce, Dwayne Arnold, Wesley Hargrove, Ryan Harrison, Preston Hart, and Nick Swain. Perform a colorful hook routine to the music Let's Dance. and the Tyler Independent School District proudly present the Pride of Robert E. Lee, the Red Raider Marching Band. And now, under the field direction of head drum major Adrian Jones, assistant drum major Brian Kelly, and field conductor David Meeks, the Red Raider Band presents part of their 2004 contest show, a show entitled Waterworks. Tonight's selection, Rain, written by Daniel Montaya, Jr., and the Red Raider Band proudly presents Waterworks.
You know what I like about Texas? We'll always find a way to stay cool. And when our work is through, we know just what to do. Every true Texan loves a DQ.
Pop into DQ for new popcorn chicken. These crispy, delicious, all-white chicken bites are perfect for dipping. Plus, get any size Coke free with a large order. And for all you chocoholics, try our newest treat, the Triple Chocolate Utopia.
DQ, that's what I like about Texas.
Back at Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium in Tyler, the start of the second half, just a minute or so away. As Robert E. Lee with a dominating first half, 41-0, 348 yards unofficially in total offense, 299 yards on the ground. And they've held Memorial to 36 yards. And again, we do know that Jamal Charles, the great running back who wears jersey number 4, who has given his verbal commitment to play at University of Texas, is not playing in this game tonight. And he is an amazing player, but I got a feeling that has had little to do with what we've seen so far. As good as he is, Randy, maybe a player too early in the game can change the way things are, but it has been the execution of the Lee offense which has been the difference in this game, and the defense, which has a lot of young people. Think about this now, Randy. You have, as far as the 11 guys playing, Ajiki was really more of a backup till late in the year when Robinson went down. Cole Skate's a returning starter. DeHaven a returning starter. Dominique Van Zandt split time with Jakyron Bailey. And also Jason Stripling is a guy that came in quite a bit. And then other than that, all the other players are not returning people. So this is a young defense. And 36 yards is all Memorial came up with in the first half. And it's 41-0. And Lee will get the ball. And if you're Mike Owens, 41-0, as he mentioned to Craig at halftime, is the good news. What you don't want to do is see a sloppy second half because everybody loses focus, and then you lose the momentum into what will be a very difficult game with Waco High, who won their opener 31-26 last week. Back deep, Chris Aputica, and also back deep, Jason Williams for Robert E. Lee.
What you don't want to have happen, David, is an injury from sloppy play on the part of any reserves that come in the game. And that'll be the key for Lee here in the ball game in the second half, to play consistent and not get sloppy, and just play well.
31-13 up at SMU. Allen has beaten a 12-5A team, Mesquite. So in 12-5A this weekend, North Mesquite won, Mesquite won. Lee may be on their way to a victory here, up by 41. And the other teams, Rockwall lost, Longview won too. So there's 4 wins: Mesquite, North Mesquite, Longview, and Lee. And those are the 4 teams, if you looked at power ratings or whatever, that you pretty much thought were going to be pretty good anyway. And then Rockwall, Mesquite, Horn, who's moving up from 4A, and JT losing. JT put up a heck of a fight against Texas High, but fell short, down 17-7 in the end. Here comes the kick by Ramiro, very high. Peyton Price will catch it at the 23, get a block at the 30, outside to the 37-yard line, and that's where the Red Raiders will take over. Up front, and again, there'll be a lot of changes we might see, but at least at the beginning, it's the regular starting 5 of Saron Black, Sam Banks, Blake Larman, Brian Culp, and Matt Holland. We'll also see a lot of Christian, Andrew Bailey, and Ryan Davenport. John Giles, the tight end. Walter Simpson, wide receiver, along with Tony Bush. Peyton Price and Tyrone Roth or Jason Williams, the running backs in the second half. And the senior, Josh Hill, will start at quarterback. And they start with the tight end, Murphy, Jonah Murphy, on the right-hand side. Offset I, T.Y. bounces it up the left tackle, splits the first blocker and gets 3. Out to the 40-yard line, and Corey Marks, the defensive tackle, as the ball came loose after the whistle blow for a gain of 3.
Yeah, it depends on really how much more we'll see of Ross tonight. I imagine they'll run him a series or 2 to get him a little more work, and then probably pull the reins in on the senior tailback.
Here he goes. He's coming out right away. And, he's had some of those nagging injuries at times that we've talked about. And he comes out. In fact, he's looking at Mike Owens going, what did I do wrong? And Mike goes, hey, we got another guy we can stick in as well. And Jason Williams is in the slot. He comes in motion. They run that Oklahoma fake sweep, and they give it to Peyton up the middle for close to a first down at about the, I'd say, 46-yard line for a gain of 6 yards. And now you've got Ross with 138, Williams with 60, and Peyton Price with 65, and Josh tosses in 43. Robert Joseph, who's also the starting tailback tonight for Port Arthur Memorial, will make the stop. It's 3rd and 2. Walter Simpson checks out. Tony Bush and Jacob Amy, a young man you're going to hear much more about before it's said and done. The sophomore, talk about a man-child. They run that sprint draw. Tyrone bounces outside, and he's going to be stopped for a loss of 3. And a great job in Memorial. You can already see the intensity up much more as it's Lionel Revelta, the 6'1", 180-pound senior, and Isaiah Trahan, the safety, that knocked Tyrone down on his ear for a loss of 3. And here comes the punt. And Josh Hill, who averaged 30.7 yards a punt last year, or 2 years ago, as a sophomore, will go back for the first time tonight. And Mike Owens is already fretting. Oh, my God, we've lost focus.
Well, it's only their second failed possession out of 8 now in the ball game. They've scored on the other 6. So, but, a coach like him, he's looking for perfection at all times.
You got to keep pushing. Tonight they also have a chance to see a lot of other younger players that they need to see more reps from. Here's a good snap from Giles, and Josh with a turnover punt that Joseph, or actually Barnes, will let hit, and that thing keeps on trickling like coming out of a faucet of a bad plumbing job down to the 7-yard line. Very nice net punt from Josh Hill of 50 yards, and so Josh is thinking, hey, I kind of like to do this every once in a while.
Yeah, he didn't get many opportunities last year with Stanley, and that time, he's able to punt the ball as he did his sophomore season. That's pretty much how he broke into the Lee lineup, was punting the football in the 2002 season.
Southern California was trailing 10-7 to Virginia Tech. They've now opened up a 21-10 lead, and Pete Carroll can now take a little bit of a deep breath as that thing is winding down with about 6 minutes to go. They're playing without the great receiver, Mike Williams, who will not be back this year. And here comes the quarterback, Donovan Portery, the senior, coming off a frustrating first half. Here's Joseph, bounces outside, and Takarian Cuba does a nice job, and that thing comes loose, but he gets back on it for a gain of about 6 as they go outside the defensive end that time. And Cuba, who is just a sophomore, with a nice job of closing down after a gain of, let's say, 5 yards at 2nd down and 5.
Had help on the far side as well from Micah Johnson, who fought off his blocker, is able to get there and turn the play back in slightly after a nice gainer from Joseph. Really his longest gain of the night so far, David.
Bo Bambry has checked in at middle linebacker for Robert E. Lee, and replacing Warren DeHaven. Here's the fullback, Cormier. Kind of just plunges out to about the 15-yard line. Gain of a couple of yards, and that is it. Bo Bambry last year had 22 tackles, the 5'10", 205-pound senior. Ricky Sherfield that time makes the stop. Here comes a constant rotation of Lee, Jacoby McKenzie. Also in the game, 82 now, James Wilson at middle linebacker, and Bambry gets a break, and Sherfield comes out. And they have rotated a ton of people, what you want to do, whether you're up by a bunch or it's just a hot night, and it's kind of a nice thing they have the confidence to do so. 3rd and a yard. Portery takes the handoff, and the fullback looks like he's very close and may have the first down just outside the 17-yard line.
Before that play, Port Arthur Memorial was 0 for 7 on 3rd down conversions, and they convert their first 3rd down attempt of the night, making 1 for 8.
8 minutes, 22 seconds to go in the first half. And the rotation continues along the both defensive line and linebacking core. I love the red jerseys. I think these are sharp-looking uniforms. First of all, I love them because as I get older, those numbers are tougher for me to see. 8:04 to go, and these just jump out at you. Portery to Joseph, the tailback, and he'll slide out to about the 21 for a couple of yards. And Sam Banks, the 5'9", fire hydrant, 235-pound senior on the stop. And so is Van Zandt as well.
Straight blast play from the tailback position for Joseph. He gets a very short yardage up front, and a nice block, too, from their center, pushing at that time. Makes a nice block for Port Arthur Memorial.
Memorial tonight playing Lee, and then they go back home. They'll get home very late, as you can imagine, the 4-hour drive back to the Beaumont, or Port Arthur area, and then they make the trip back here again next Saturday to play John Tyler. Here comes the safety blitz from Ajiki. Fakes it. Portery on the scramble, in trouble, and he now gets loose for the first time. And look at that turn on the Jets out to the 37-yard line. Very nice run of 16 yards for Portery, Eric Ajiki, and that time a couple of missed tackles in the backfield. That's the first time that Donovan Portery, I've heard about his foot speed and his quickness, his foot work, and that time he got loose for 16.
Well, he's noted as more of a drop-back passer. That time he's just flushed out of the pocket. He surges his way back up towards the middle of the field and makes a nice little run, showing shiftiness, too.
So Dean Colbert trying to see if his offense can show some spark here, down by a ton. Offset eye, tight end far side. Ajiki again coming up with a possible blitz. Portery to Joseph, bounces it outside and loses a couple of yards, and the ball is loose, and Lee picks it up. Dominique Van Zandt picks it up and runs it inside the 15-yard line. Jarrett Williams comes from behind to stop him, but the ball comes loose, and that is something that Robert E. Lee defensively does very rarely in the last few years that we've seen them. And I tell you what, that is about team speed as Dominique Van Zandt picks it up and runs it back to the Memorial 13-yard line, and Lee has the ball first down.
Well, Joseph is bottled in by 2 or 3 Lee defenders as they wrap him up for an apparent 2 or 3 yard loss. Then the ball squirts free at the last moment. Van Zandt scoops it up and picks up 18 yards on the return.
So it's 6:41 to go, third quarter. And Jonathan Williams in at wide receiver. D'Angelo Jones is in the slot. Tight end to the near side. Actually, they had a full unbalanced line, and here comes Peyton Price, and guess what? He's got another first down. Peyton Price averaging a ton of yards per carry. He now has 75 yards on 5 carries after a gain of 9 right there. No, excuse me, it's more than that. Nope, yeah, it's a gain of 9, just shy of the first down. That is you could do that. That's another thing that we talk about being contagious when the defense starts scooping up fumbles and running them in or getting some scoring opportunities with your defense. That is huge as Van Zandt got the fumble recovery. So now a gain of 9 for Peyton Price. Here's the handoff. This is Jason Hammer Williams. He fumbled. Port Arthur Memorial has recovered at the 1-yard line. It looked like he had gotten into the end zone, but all of a sudden the ball comes loose, and Lee turns it over at about the 2. And that was a hit by Richard Alexander, who then also scrambled around and picked it up off the ground on his knees. And Lee's scoring threat has now ended.
Well, it's just about getting sloppy, and when they have a chance to cash in after getting the first turnover of the night by Port Arthur Memorial, does Lee. They turn around and give the ball right back. Just a nice defensive effort, too, we must note, from Williams. So
Alexander, who has a sack in this game, also gets a fumble recovery, and he is the guy we've called and talked about more than anybody else in the Titans defense. So 5:55 to go. Portery from the 1.5-yard line. Joseph, the tailback, makes a nice move to get loose for about 7. And you can just see him kind of got it log jammed inside because of the nice job by Big 68 for Robert E. Lee to force him outside, Bobby Osborne. But Takarian Cuba had to make the stop, and Eric Ajiki involved as well. And it's now 41-0 Lee, and Port Arthur Memorial has a 2nd down and 3.
Yeah, Joseph wanted to go towards the middle part of his line, but he cuts back behind the left tackle, Robert Gillespie, who made a nice seal block, and he picks up a nice gainer as it takes 2 or 3 Lee secondary people to bring him in.
Portery with an I formation. Joseph has been held to 28 yards on 16 carries. 2nd down and 3. Handoff deep, and he runs into what was that? Wow! Lee's defensive end, I think that was 35. That's a big-time play by Matt Uzel. That's Lonnie's boy.
It's Lonnie's boy.
He came out. He kind of was coming from the outside, and Ray was also around there, but he grabbed him by the collar, and Joseph's just stopped like he'd run into a wall.
And he fought off a blocker at that. He was right in front of him. He just really clotheslined him around the chest area and lost that time.
So, how about that? Seeing another name involved. And Matt Uzel, a 6 foot, 213-pound linebacker.
A junior.
And just a junior. Timeout Memorial, 4:34 to go, third quarter. 41-0 Robert E. Lee at Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium, and we're back in 30 seconds.
You know what I like about Texas? We'll always find a way to stay cool. And when our work is through, we know just what to do. Every true Texan loves a DQ.
Pop into DQ for new popcorn chicken. These crispy, delicious, all-white chicken bites are perfect for dipping. Plus, get any size Coke free with a large order. And for all you chocoholics, try our newest treat, the Triple Chocolate Utopia.
DQ, that's what I like about Texas.
Here's a question. If you needed your insurance, who would you call? Not the name of the company, but the name of the person. You've got 2 seconds. Coming up blank, you may want to consider Allstate. You'd have a local agent you can count on, a licensed professional whose name you know, not just a number. You deserve a relationship with a real person.
For all your insurance needs, call the McIntyre Insurance Agency in the Albertson Shopping Center.
Gary Fleet, the offensive line coach from Robert E. Lee, trying to tell Craig Smoke at the sideline that Tyler Fleet, his son, is one of the extra tight ends that they're using. Not even on the roster. But he will be now.
Is a winner of a free membership to the Trinity Mother Francis Regional.
This is probably a roster that has more coaches' sons on it than I think we've seen since Mike Owens and his staff arrived, which means they're just getting older. Here's Porterie with a slant pass, and his two receivers either didn't know the play, Willie Bryant or Eric Reynolds, or Quentin Nicholson, the cornerback, who's had a pretty quiet night. I mean, he's over there kind of, hey, guys, can you throw something over here? I need to find out if I can defend a pass a little bit more. And here comes a punt from the kicker, Ramiro.
You mentioned coaches' sons. That's Trevor Reed and Owens and Fleet and whom else?
Well, Lonnie Uzel's a 7-on-7 coach.
Well, he's a banker, too.
Hello, Lonnie. He and Randy Womble and Andy Bergfeld, who's a part of the school board, have done a great job with that 7-on-7. And here comes another timeout. I'm not sure who called this one. By the way, Southern Cal's lead is 21-13 against Virginia Tech with 2:21 to go in the fourth quarter as they try to hold on for what would be a nice road win on the East Coast. 41-0 here, 21-13 there. And if Lee wins this game, which it looks like they'll do, District 12 5A will start off 4-3 with the four teams most people expected to be the better teams: North Mesquite, Longview, and Robert E. Lee. Now they'd actually go 3-4 because Mesquite losing today 31-13 to Allen. And it's just immeasurable to get the kind of quality time that some of these younger players on what is obviously an incredibly athletic defensive team, but still a young team, to get these kind of reps in the first game. Same thing last year when they blew out McKinney early. Micah Johnson, starting right corner or left cornerback, will come back to field the punt for the Red Raiders at about the 45 of Memorial.
He's listed at 5'10", David. He just looks taller than 5'10".
Yeah, he does.
He looks 6'1" easily.
Here's Ramiro, who turns over a rocket shot, and Micah will catch it at the 45. Now look for a seam at the 45 of Memorial. Heads up field to the 35-yard line. Nice stop by 85, which is Eugene Mingo, but he showed a burst that time and a return of about 20 yards, 22 to be exact. 46 yards from Ramiro on the kick. Wow, 22-yard return. There's a couple of 3 years ago, Lee had a lot of problems catching punts.
That was 2 years ago.
And remember the semifinal game when they had the 7-0 lead and they made Midland punt, and it hit about midfield, and it seemed like it danced for about an hour, and it kind of turned around the field position of that game. Preston Hill back in the game, reversed to Jason Williams, cuts it inside at the 32, down to the 30, down to the 27-yard line. And a nice block by Tyler Fleet. You talk about a guy that probably gets some critiquing when he gets home.
Yeah, up close and personal from his daddy.
And let's kind of get some numbers as they continue that rotation. But the thing about it is, guys, is with Christian, Bailey, Davenport, Holland, Culp, and Larman, the offensive linemen, with only 2 returning starters, this is quality time for those young men. Although Culp, Holland, and Christian and Davenport, the 4 we mentioned, they're all seniors. So almost all the offensive line will be gone next year except Andrew Bailey. 3:33 to go, third quarter, 41-0. Robert E. Lee dominating. Jason Williams off left tackle for about 2-3 yards and a first down, just inside the 25. So he picks up 8 and then 3. Revelta there. Also Dedrick DeJean, the senior, also on the stop, as is number 12, Robert Joseph.
Nice block along the left side, too, for Banks, pushing back on the defensive tackle, opening up a slide hole as Williams bounces outside of it and picks up the first down of the second half for Robert E. Lee.
85, Michael Mason was hit on that play. He will come out. John Williams and Jacob Amy split to the near side. Here's the snap. This is Williams on the stretch. 25 at the 20. Gains about 4 more. Got to watch out, hold on to that football. Brad Royals in the game as well. Jeremy Bernard, the 245-pound senior, on the stop, and so was Chris Laverne. A couple of Titans starting to limp a little bit. 41-0 with under 3 minutes to go. And Lee next Friday night will play right back here at home against Waco High, a team that had their number for a long, long time. But last year, Lee finally was able to end that drought. That was when Fox Sports Net came in town, and Lee won the game. They've got themselves a pretty good little offensive team, though. Preston Hill remains the quarterback. Little draw. Royal got stuck pretty good inside for about 2. Raphael Cutton, tough little linebacker, the senior. Again, with 120 tackles, he got one right there, gain of, let's say 3.
He's able to fight off blocks, and he fought off the block that time of Blake Larman as he cut across and hit Royal pretty hard after a short game.
You probably won't see the ball in the air unless it's just something where they just have no other choice. 2:06 now. Clock will go under 2 minutes when they take the snap. Williams near side. Lone setback is Brad Royal. Jason Williams in the slot. Tight end is Fleet. Williams takes that reverse, goes outside, and slips down for a loss of about 3 yards. And that was Isaiah Trahan. That time it was kind of obvious what they're going to run, although the next time they might fake it and then do something else with it. And with a 41-0 lead, you don't think the field goal unit, although I'm going to tell you something. I really believe this, that a field goal here is not rubbing it in. A field goal here is execution for when you need one later in the year in a clutch moment. I think you kick the field goal, but at the same time, they're trying to get some snaps, and they'll go for it on 4th down and 3. Jason's had a little problem with his footing here. Back to throw, Preston Hill, sideline pass, overshoots his intended receiver. There was a lot of contact there. Maurice Kinlaw on the coverage of D'Angelo Jones, and Lee turns it over on downs. Field goal, Cole Skates, pretty much automatic, and you just want to get the execution down, but at the same time, Mike just trying to say, let's get this thing, let's run it out as much as we can, as quickly as we can, and let's get to the house.
Well, you don't want to send the wrong message to your opponent either, but, they're out here playing and working hard as well, and if you're trying on 4th down, you're still trying to move the ball.
Yeah,
so.
I was surprised when I talked to Bob West of the Port Arthur News, is that when Mike Owens took the job at Lee after the 95 football season, the reaction in Port Arthur was kind of like, okay, who's our next coach? That they didn't know what they might have had when he left. And they were kind of going through a little bit of a downtime anyway. Here's Joseph outside, tripped up on the outside by 22. Justin Hansen, the 5'8", 160-pound junior, coming up from the cornerback position to make the stop after a gain of a couple of 3 yards. And, the last couple of years at Jefferson's, things had gotten a little bit tougher. But in 14 years there as the head coach, Mike Owens at Jefferson High School had a record of 90 wins, 57 losses, and a tie. And here at Lee, 63-31-0. He's 153 career wins. So, but Jefferson is kind of like, okay, and since that time, they basically have not had much success at all. And, of course, now there's not even a school, or at least no longer the high school. Yeah, it's a memorial. 2nd down, 7. Bouncing around up front, Lee now. Back to throw, Portery. Throws over the middle, caught, nice catch, and a gain of about 12, 15 yards out to the 40-yard line, and they found somebody in the seam. That's Jeremy McZeal. Terkarian Cuba makes the stop at a gain of 17 yards.
McZeal just runs an in pattern, a hook pattern, if you will, 12 yards down the field, 10 yards down the field, makes the catch, turns around, and Cuba's right on his tail to bring him down after the 1st down pass.
And that might end the 3rd quarter, and it will. With our score, what it was at halftime, Robert E. Lee 41 and Port Arthur Memorial nothing. We're back in 60 seconds.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there. I'm there. We're there with nearly 50 degrees and certificates and as many as 400 continuing education classes. Wherever you want to go, we can take you there because we're right here. Tyler Junior College.
I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there. I'm there.
To see this sign on your house, put this sign out front. Century 21 Advantage. Call or visit our website.
You know what I like about Texas? We'll always find a when our work is through, we know just what to do. Every true Texan loves a DQ.
Pop into DQ for new popcorn chicken. These crispy, delicious, all-white chicken bites are perfect for dipping. Plus, get any size Coke free with a large order. And for all you chocoholics, try our newest treat, the Triple Chocolate Utopia.
DQ, that's what I like about Texas.
Your one-stop sports shop, Tyler Athletics. Represent your team like never before. On the field, on the court, it's all in our store. The spirit of your team, the season of your dreams. Looking for the victory, we've got what you need. Your one-stop sports shop, Tyler Athletics. Your one-stop sports shop, Tyler Athletics.
We start the fourth quarter, same score as at halftime, 41-0, and the Titans of Memorial High School trying to find some momentum. They have 4 receivers set. Jacoby McKenzie, the defensive tackle for Lee. Here's that fake reverse, and they hand it off to Joseph, and he goes backwards thanks to a nice play. A loss of 3, and Colby Ray and Justin Simmons were there. Simmons made the initial stop, and then Ray was there to make sure he sat on him pretty good. And a loss of 3 yards, and the fourth quarter begins, and the Lee defense continues to get penetration.
Well, you know, they say we're not going to have any of that. We see that play in practice all the time, and they snuffed it out very quickly as they fought off several blocks up front, and Ray makes a nice play for the initial contact on Joseph.
So now here comes the big center, Trey Puckett leading the way, and again, this is an offensive line with all 5 starters back. And they've had their trouble tonight. 2nd and 13, 48, back to throw. Steps up in the pocket, flushed away by McKenzie, now sacked by McKenzie. And he will gain maybe a yard, but look at the backside pressure from McKenzie. And then also Bo Bambry got himself a nice job there. Jacoby McKenzie and a lot of other names. Matt Uzel again on the stop. And this is great film work, and you say film work so these young kids can get reps, but these guys are making plays against the starting offensive team for Memorial. It's 3rd down and 13.
There's no fear, and McKenzie really made the play as he forced Porter Ray out of the pocket and inside and got to him from the backside for the sack.
The way that Donovan's last name is spelled, it looks like it's Porter Ray, but it's actually Porter Reed from what Dean Colbert told me. Back to throw, Porter Reed rolls to his far side, pass into the dirt, very well short, and he got thumped after that as well by Colby Ray, the junior. Quet Nicholson on coverage, and he was right there with the intended receiver, but that ball never got past basically the about 5 to 10 yards, kind of a one-hopper from the outfield for a play at the plate.
You know, you look at last year's stats, Memorial comes in, they averaged 31 points a game last year, 350 yards a game, and they're not going to sniff either tonight.
No. And
at least right
they got to be in shock, too, because I think Dean Colbert really probably got a little bit tired of hearing about Mike Owens was a great football player at Jefferson, and he was a great football player, coach, and I think he really wanted to see a nice punt by Ramiro that will hit at the Lee 30, the 25, and kind of die right there. And when I talked to him, he said, listen, I know what he used to do. He goes, I've been around here for a while. He was in the area, Texas City and Willow Ridge, and he was a coach at Jefferson. He knew the history there. And I think Mike also, because of what I mentioned, Randy, that when he left Jefferson, they kind of like a ho-hum, okay, who else is our next head coach? I think he's probably feeling pretty proud. Now, this is tough on him, though. He's a Port Arthur boy, and his wife, Kathy, the one thing he promised her is he would never play a team from their hometown unless it was a playoff game. And
what does he go and do?
And so he told me that when he found out Memorial was he told Kathy she was very unhappy about it.
And they didn't have a lot to do with that scheduling, did they not?
No. It was put together by Dave Stevenson and company. Justin Watts, one of the receivers, and Lee will run the ball outside and lose about a yard or two. And in the game, 28, Chris Aputica. And Chris Aputica, one of the fastest players, he is just a sophomore. And he also is a guy that we might see at sometimes, plays a little cornerback as well. He loses 2 yards in the play. And Robert E. leads 2nd down and 12. Preston Hill at the 20-yard line. Runs the wingback reverse. Aputica gets outside and bounces off one man and then drives very tough run for him out to the 27-yard line and a gain of about 6-7 yards. And Robert Joseph bulldogs him down. And on the tackle that time, Dedrick DeJean and Lionel Revelta. Craig Smoke has been kind of quiet because it's been a blowout, but anything from the sidelines of any interest?
No, not really. Just a bunch of smiles across the faces of the elite players. You can tell a lot of the younger guys are happy because they're getting some snaps that otherwise, without the blowout, they wouldn't be able to get. And I think just everybody around here is just really happy with the way they played tonight.
Justin Watts is one of the receivers, as we've mentioned, that's in the rotation now. Also in the game, Cruz Fry is in the ball game, and so is Michael Fuller. And Southern Cal has beaten Virginia Tech to start off the year 24-13. That is now a final. 3rd and about 6. Handoff of Pudica up the middle about 2 or 3 yards, and he gets out to the 30-yard line. Also Josh Kegler. Jimmy Kegler, his father, senior, unfortunately passed away about a year ago, and he's a beloved man. He's one of those guys that had given up hundreds and hundreds of hours, time and money to volunteer for the Little Leagues, Pop Warner Little League and all that. He's a loved man down in Lufkin, Texas.
Well, he was
area.
a star for the Panthers
Yes.
back in the late 70s as well. And you know, he was fallen, I believe, by a massive heart attack.
And I think that happened in an early game last year where they had to tell his older brother what happened, and he's now on this lead team. He's also another one like a Pudica who can play a little defensive back and running back depending on what they need. He picks up a yard or two, and 7:49 to go, and all that Mike wanted to do in the second half was not get too sloppy, but also, hey, there's my man Redwine. He's got that UT jersey on now. Redwine, and you know what? Nick is having a pretty good camp down at UT, isn't he? Yeah. I caught him in the chow hall. I said, "How they feeding you?" He goes, "Well, not quite as nice as Mama, but he's doing pretty good." He's here? Well, get him in here. Try to, if you could find him, right? We'd like to talk to Nick. They've 7:49, and Josh Hill into punt for this second time? He had a 50-yarder. Got to give Kegler a couple of his yards.
Winning does that all the time too, David.
Oh, it's again, you have to start somewhere. Nice catch, and a great job on the special teams by Nick Mitchell, the safety, who makes the stop on a one-handed grab, and a nice punt by Josh of 34 yards, a 2-yard return of the punt. And the Titans of Memorial would love to have some sort of a way to get the goose egg off the scoreboard. Robert E. Lee at home next Friday against Waco High. And then, Randy, they have road trips against longtime rival Lufkin at Abe Martin Stadium. And then they go to Euless Trinity at Pennington Field in Bedford to close out non-district. Then they get a break before the district starts, which is perfect time.
October 1st in Rockwall.
And then they start it all off against Rockwall, the first district game 2 weeks later. Portery, the quarterback, offset eye. They've got some backups in the game. Sheldon Mayfield. This is Joseph off right tackle, and he goes backwards again. Look at the pursuit. Justin Hansen and 82. That is James Wilson on the stop, and the speed of the lead defense continues to get better each year.
These are your second and third teamers out there now. They're not even starters, but they're still executing. They're wanting to play. They're making things happen right now.
Second down and 11. Back to throw, Portery, quick step, drop, pass incomplete. They've had a lot of drops tonight. That's one thing we have to mention. Portery has had a couple of balls go through the wickets of McZeal and Bryant. That one does too.
Well, a lot of it has to do with pressure and pursuit. And, Robert E. Lee they've just come full 360 turn the last 2 or 3 seasons defensively, and it all starts and evolves around their speed. And even their backups are quick to the ball, and they play great technique. They're taught well.
They have 80 yards in offense.
Total offense. A team that averaged
80 yards.
355 games a year last year.
They had 4,610 yards in 13 games, 202 yards on the ground, and Randy mentioned 350. They were very well balanced. They had a great quarterback who's gone, and Portery was supposed to step right in. He's had a frustrating night. 3rd and 11. He drops back, 5-step drop, sideline pass. Incomplete, but Justin Hansen kind of got in between the receiver and the ball again. Jeremy Moore was there, and it went off the hands of Jeremy McZeal, and it's 4th down with 6:46 to go. Hey, by the way, Tyler Junior College opened up their year tonight with a tough road win against Navarro and Corsicana, 13-7. And again, that's Bill Coates and Kevin Simon, Jamie Lent. They'll be playing next week at 11 o'clock here at Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium. And then later on that night is Memorial against John Tyler.
Here comes the 8th punt of the ball game for the Titans. David.
I think I forgot to write down a
Maybe
couple.
the 9th. I won't count in a minute.
Micah Johnson. Back to punt is Ramiro. Gets it off. High punt. Micah at the 31, 35. Turns the corner 40. Spun around like a top and knocked out of bounds at the 45 or so yard line. 85 in the stop for, that's Eugene Mingo. He's been on a few of those special teams plays. And now Micah Johnson's got 22 and 14 yards on some punt returns. So no scoring in the second half, but Lee put so much into it. By the way, trying to get you a couple updates if I can on a couple of the scores from around East Texas. We'll do that in our post game. But to update you on some baseball here in a moment, there's a player apparently who's injured at about midfield in front of the Lee bench, and no one saw that. And it looks like it's Barnes, the cornerback. Okay, here's some scores in baseball of interest. Anaheim lost today 7-1 to the Twins, who have gotten red hot. And Johan Santana, possible Cy Young Award winner, wins that game. Yankees beat Toronto 18-6. They got 9 in the 9th inning. Offsides after the long delay, and Tyler Fleet jumped, so did Brad Royal. Drew White, by the way, is now in the game at quarterback. You talk about something they didn't expect to see. The 5'11", 170-pound junior, number 12, takes a varsity snap, and that's pretty cool as well. There's absolutely no way Mike Owens thought that this was going to happen. First down and 15. This is the Putica. He gets outside, and there's that speed. Do you see that, Randy?
Wow.
Out past midfield into Memorial territory at the 48-yard line, and he turned on those jets. Knocked out of bounds by a young man besides Alexander. Isaiah Trahan has had one tackle after another, and a nice pickup for 9 yards for a Putica.
He gets outside and squirts free, and really one or two Titans get to him and kind of push at him and force him out of bounds, or he might have skirted right down the sideline.
So Lee now second down and 5 at the 48-yard line of the Titans with under 5 minutes or 5.5 to go. White, a Putica, bounces outside, now cuts it inside, and a nice tough run for about 3 or 4. And Randy, you're right, about a foot or two short of a first down at the 44-yard line. And this is going to wrap up a 4-game, 3-day classic. Josh Kegler back at the game. 3rd and a yard. Under 5 minutes to go, and Lee jumps offside again. Tyler Fleet, of all the people on the team who doesn't want to jump off sides, it's the tight end. First of all, Daryl Turner, the great, I love the guy. Daryl Turner, his son Brian starts at SMU, but Daryl Turner, the tight ends coach. But Tyler Fleet has to go home with Daddy tonight. I wonder if they have an extra room in the house just for mats. You know, they got like a room in the house that has mats. You think, Kerry? Yeah. Offsides, procedure call, and Lee's had a ton of penalties.
That's 9 for 65, I believe, by my count anyway.
Split is Watts to the near side, and so is 23 Kegler. Offset eye. Royal is the fullback. They give it to Aputica outside. He has the first down, I think, and breaks a tackle inside the 40 and has a first down at the 35. 15 yards, I think, Randy, and knocked out of bounds by the Titans, number 55, Lionel Revelta. They still have a lot of their starters on defense. And a nice run from
Aputica.
Chris Aputica, just a sophomore, gain of 15 yards. Now in the slot, Kegler. Out to the flank is Michael Fuller. Up the gut, nice tough run from Brad Royal, down inside the 30, down to the 27-yard line, and I think that was Royal, wasn't it, guys?
Yes.
Yep, it was.
30.
Gain of 9 and knocked down by Jared Williams. So let's talk about next week. Waco High beat Schertz Clemens last night, 31-26, a very solid program. Hold on just a second. Second down and a yard. They run that wing back reverse, and Travian Black will lose maybe a yard or two. The ball comes out loose, but knocked down by Trahan again. Clemens, though, a 4A scorer, they moved to 5A.
They're 5A
5A now. They're for a long time known for their basketball, Randy, but they've been a pretty good team in football the last 5 to 10 years.
And Waco, from what I understand, had a 31-7 lead going to the fourth quarter, and then 3 touchdowns for Schertz. Clemens got them right back in the game.
3rd down and 7 at the 33-yard line. Jason White, handoff. That's Aputica, turns the corner. 1st down, 20. Inside the 20 to the 16-yard line. And knocked out by Robert Barnes. Nice block downfield by Ryan Davenport, and Aputica picks up 20. Staggering numbers on the ground. And again, these are somewhat unofficially official. 377 yards on the ground for Lee tonight, rushing the football. And they haven't had to throw the ball much. They have 49 yards passing. Remember, they were at 348 yards total offense at halftime. Then they put it into cruise control. 1st down at the 16, and
that's the 3rd one on this drive, David.
3rd procedure call. And you got a new quarterback in the game, and you know Jason, I'm sure, has had so few snaps during the week, and you're talking about a different cadence. They keep on giving the ball to different running backs. It's going to look like the old JT score with 17 or 20 running back. Here is the play up front, and there somebody got hammered. Travian Black, maybe a yard. So Lee and Waco High next Friday.
They'll have Carl Hicks back at quarterback the whole game.
Remember
this time.
him? Remember
he
him?
put on a show and brought him back and got him right back in the game after they fell behind 32-7 last year.
And that game got a little bit frightening at the end because
of Carl Hicks.
They were a fumble return away. Remember, they picked it up, and Lee somehow stopped them from doing that. And after not being able to beat Waco High, who was just so much athletically better, and now Lee with the big win last year and playing Waco High again this year. 2nd down, 13. Outside Aputica, 15-10, runs over a man at the 5 and has a 1st down. They keep the clock running. 61 yards for Aputica, 69 for Jason Williams, 74 for Peyton Price, 135 for Tyrone Ross. And Lee at the 4-yard line, and the clock slowly dripping towards 1 minute to go. 41-0 Robert E. Lee. And it's been like that for a while. Here's Aputica. He will get down near the goal line and stop just shy. And you got to wonder if they don't just take a knee right here with the clock at 50 seconds. Aputica gets, 3 more? And a very impressive opening game, and maybe a message that this Lee football team, which I still think continually in the preseason polls gets overlooked for whatever reasons when they've had some great success against the Longviews and the Lufkins, etc. Longview's got a great football team. By the way, 83, Justin Watts, who is deaf. Remember Martel Van Zandt? What a great story that is. Here's a timeout. Timeout Memorial. And I think what Dean Colbert's probably doing here is say, guys, we're getting blown out. They're trying to stick one in on us, and we don't want that to happen here. Let's show something here.
Show some pride here.
17 seconds to go.
And when you talk about respect and rankings and all, and really in the grand scheme of things, it means nothing. But it does kind of internally for a pride factor.
Well, it just seems like it just seems like no matter what, every single year for the last several years, that when the preseason polls come out, Lufkin and Longview were traditionally ranked ahead of Lee. No disrespect. Longview's got a great team this year. Lufkin's going to have another great team this year. Those teams have done well. But head up, Lee has a winning record against every team that's been in their district since 1997.
And the others receiving votes this week, Lee was right behind Port Arthur Memorial.
Right.
That'll change.
All right, lone setback Aputica at the 1-foot line, and Wilson will take a knee. Classy move by Mike Owens right there, and Lee wins this one 41-0. And it was an absolute blowout from the very beginning. Great execution, and the lead defense dominates as well tonight. Craig Smoke will get a word with head football coach Mike Owens after he shakes the hands of Dean Colbert. And I'm sure Mike's kind of glad this thing is over, having to play against his former, hometown of Port Arthur. We'll get Mike Owens in a moment. He shakes the hands of a lot of different people. And here's Craig with Mike.
All right, Coach Owens, you said going into halftime you just wanted to play some good football like you did the first half, not be really sloppy. Do you feel like you accomplished that here in the second half?
Well, I think that we started playing. We let our starters play in one possession, maybe two, and then we started putting the backups in, and they did a good job. I felt like they were young kids, and they had never played out here before, and so they did. They got in there and did a good job. We just, made a few mistakes, but that's to be expected.
Speaking of the backups, you're able to get not only second team but third team guys in as well. Talk about how valuable experience that is, not in the first game, that is.
Oh, yeah, because, see, we've got some quality kids that are young, like a Pudica and some of them, Travion Black. They're, they got to come on later on and help us out if we have some injuries. So we need to get them some game time, and we did, so that's good.
All right, next week's going to be a good game playing Waco High. It always is. Talk about what things you need your team needs to fix, if there is any, and what you're going to work on here going against Waco.
Well, there's a lot of things we need to fix. I mean, we need to, we didn't throw the ball real well when we did, but so we got to work on some timing. We didn't have the opportunity to throw it, and didn't really want to tell you the truth. But there were some things there that are a little bit off key and off timing. So we're going to have to work on that. But that comes with more and more practice. So I feel pretty good about the way we played tonight. Everybody was pretty sharp, pretty crisp, especially the first half, and then our defense really played well. I thought that's as good an opening game as any defense we've ever had play.
All right, congratulations, Coach.
Thank you, Craig. Great job. As Robert E. Lee rolls in their opening game, 41-0 over Memorial.
Thanks for watching High School Football, presented by TISD and Cox Communications of Tyler. Brought to you by Dairy Queen and Supercuts. Also brought to you by these sponsors.